All right, we're good.
Okay, I'll call to order the meeting of Falmouth Public School Committee for June 23rd, and we're gonna move right into executive session to discuss an open meeting law complaint brought against the public body. It's anticipated that the school committee will return to open session at 6:30. Is there a second?
Second.
And it's a roll call vote. Mike?
Anyone, yes?
Cohen, yes.
Augusta, yes.
Liskey, yes.
Susie, yes.
Is there discussion allowed on it? It's moved to executive session?
We are roll calling just to go into executive session.
No.
Yes. Trading, yes. Welch, yes. So
There'll be a
we'll move into
moment
executive.
for the record.
Yep, we got you.
All right.
Meeting of the Falmouth School Committee back to order after executive session. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Margaret, would you start us with the mission and vision, please?
Falmouth Public School mission. The Falmouth Public Schools create world-class students and learning experiences. Our equippers are empowered to pursue their goals with curiosity, integrity, and resilience. Falmouth Public School vision. Clippers are creative, inquisitive, and engaged learners who participate in their community as socially responsible citizens. Clippers effectively communicate and solve problems that impact the world around them.
Thank you. Just a reminder, the meeting is being recorded in accordance with Massachusetts open meeting law. Anyone who wishes to make an audio or video recording at a meeting must first notify the chair. Please raise your hand if you make your presence known if you intend to record. All right.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna record.
Oh, okay, thanks, Kim. Yeah. Before public comment, I just wanted to turn it over to Melissa. We have a special recognition, as some of you probably already know. Tonight is Sharon Reed's last night with us. I wish I could say it was gonna be a short one, but it doesn't look like it. But you know, we have enjoyed Sharon as a school committee secretary for nowhere near as long as she's been serving the district, and from getting bills signed on the beach to keeping us in order on agendas and everything in between. We really owe her a great debt. Melissa.
To bringing me things to Hyannis to sign during my work day, to all the things. Sharon, I don't even know how to thank you. I honestly don't. You have kept us all straight as much as we could be. You've answered all the calls from the families and the community and everything else along the way. I don't know how to thank you. I don't want to say goodbye. This is just like, this is such an emotional. Maybe I'm not the best. Oh, don't you?
I like a bad penny.
Don't you? So we have a little something for you.
Oh, thank you.
You get it? Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. Can you record? Oh, thanks. No. Okay, always nice to start on a, I guess, good note, happy note. I don't know. I mean, we're not happy, but she's happy, so that's good. Next we move to public comment. Public comment's limited to 20 minutes, and members are invited to speak, limited to 2 minutes in length, and due to open meeting law, the committee cannot respond to or act on public comment. You can always email us though at schoolcommittee@falmouth.k12.ma.us. And Megan, you're the only one on the list. Come on up.
Megan Zottoli, Carriage Shop Road. I'm here once again to ask one of you to make a motion to remove the Lawrence School uniform requirement from the student handbook before you vote on it tonight. The current dress code simply does not make sense. Last year, all shirt colors were approved. This year, corduroy and performance twill pants are being added. Every year, more exemptions are made because the administration recognizes that the original policy is too restrictive. If the uniform continues to be removed piece by piece, why not eliminate the requirement altogether? Students are already allowed to wear clothes with logos to gym class and on field trips. If those clothes are considered appropriate outside the classroom, why are students forced back into uniforms? Even more concerning, my exemption requests continue to be ignored after 7 requests. Rules that are applied differently from one student to another create frustration, discrimination, confusion, and are retaliatory. As elected officials, you have a responsibility to address the concerns that are repeatedly brought before you. Choosing not to act does not make the issue disappear. Students and families have consistently voiced that they want change. If this committee is truly here for the students, then listen to them. At every opportunity they have been given, they have asked for more freedom and greater respect for their ability to express themselves. Most recently, the student advisors and the warrant committee unanimously supported allowing variegated patterns and more relaxed clothing on testing days. That demonstrates students can be trusted and their voices matter. So I ask, why not ask students the big question? Should the uniform requirement remain at all? No district-wide survey has ever been asked. If we're serious about student voice, let's hear directly from the stakeholders before you vote on this issue. I'm sure you don't want to hear their answer. Tonight, I ask that one of you make a motion to remove the Lawrence School uniform requirement from the handbook before voting. Give students the opportunity to be heard, trust them, listen to them, and let their voices guide this decision.
Thanks, Megan. Okay, next up is update by the superintendent.
Thank you. So first on the list was Green School Works, and that was me being very positive, hoping that we would hear about the grant by now. Stephanie Matson did say that it should be any day, but I don't have a new update because we have not heard. And that was the grant, the second grant that was about the soil testing drilling for that. So, but I will keep you updated when we know something. The second is the Accelerating Achievement Partnership. This is a new partnership opportunity with DESE. Based on our accountability data, we are not required to participate, but rather we're invited to participate. So we took time this spring to understand what the partnership is. We participated in 2 DESE calls and attended the virtual technical assistance meeting. It was shared that if we take the option to join, then we have the option to attend convenings if they offer convenings or assistance, and also grant opportunities that they have. Therefore, we decided that we are going to add that as a partnership, and we'll work with DESE on the Accelerating Achievement partnership. And looking forward to that being helpful to all of us. So yes, this is Sharon's last meeting. She's winding down in the next few days. Heather, you can see Heather is now already taken over the seat. She has, over the last couple months, really worked closely with Sharon. And as we're going to miss Sharon, she certainly has prepared Heather to take over with all full responsibility in the next few days. So we're very excited about that. And so welcome again, Heather. And Sharon, yes, we will miss you. All right. Clipper news. Just a couple things I wanted to add tonight. Rima Pestrosian, I had said before that she had won the gold medal for her artwork. She attended New York City with her mentor and teacher, Jane Baker. It was the Scholastic National Art and Writing Ceremonies. And she did win the gold medal. This is the first gold medal that we've received in Falmouth. This is the top 1% entries across the nation. So, she is amazing. So Molly Reagan, hold on. Okay. Molly Reagan entered a contest. She is a first grader from Mullen Hall School. Sorry.
No, I was reading it back.
Oh, again, I'm gonna pass it around so you can read it back. So she entered a contest the State House put on to draw a drawing and talk about what your ideal school is. And she won, and we're very excited to congratulate Molly. She said, quote, My ideal school would be so colorful that you couldn't even imagine a more colorful school inside and out. Colors are important because they bring out the joy, calmness, and peace.
Oh, but it's the last sentence is the best one.
Oh, good, dessert.
Okay.
The Molly school is awesome, just like my school.
Our own student advisor, Isabel Grayson, among 3 other students, received a $1,000 scholarship from the North Falmouth Village Association. And I know that I had mentioned before, this town is absolutely amazing, and to have over $750,000 gifted to as donations to our students is amazing. That keeps coming in all summer long, and this is just an example of one more, but I thought I'd give a shout out for our own student advisor on that. And then at your seat, you have the shoal, and this is, just want to make sure that everyone had a copy. This is the art and literary writings of our students. They're all listed in the front. So this is this year's. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Questions? All right, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. Let's keep going. Introduction of Liz.
Yes, so Liz, do you want to, I don't know if you want to come up, sit or stand or something, but so we're officially introducing Liz Haskell. She is the new director of teaching and learning. And so some of you met her. We had a meet and greet last week, it was just last week. So she's here. We're very excited to have her. She's from Somerset, Berkeley, where she also was the director of teaching and learning. She has lots of experience. We're excited she's here. She's been spending some time in the schools and with the admin team. And so we're looking forward to being able to work with you. So I thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to working with the team, and I've had the opportunity to work with Sonia already and the leadership team, and been invited to some meetings and really getting acclimated. And I will be here officially starting July 1, and you come on by and visit. I'll be here. So happy to communicate.
Well, I don't know if you can stick around, but you're here on a great night because we'll have all of our updates. Thanks for coming.
Of course. Thank you.
At least for the next presentation.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is an update on North Falmouth School Trust. No, did I skip something? Oh, no, you're next, sorry. So I'm moving us up. What? Presentation of district goals. I was like, where are you going?
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to welcome the team in. We're going to line up and
It's gonna be real happy days time.
all right, we'll kind of divide half and half over here so that they can see the screen. And yeah. I don't know where you want to go.
Would you like to share it? All right.
All right, so thank you. This is our annual. So this is our progress update. So we do this in June, and in September we come and discuss our new goals for the year. And so I'd like to thank the school committee for your work and dedication. I'm honored to be the superintendent of Falmouth Public Schools, and I'm proud of our leadership team. We lead through collaboration and support with a growth mindset. Our connected leadership empowers our teachers to bring new and innovative ideas to the classroom. Our connected leadership ensures our faculty and staff feel backed, heard, and empowered to take the risks necessary for growing student achievement. I am most proud and committed to the student opportunities in our schools. With our academic and standards-based scientific and cultural experiences, our community partners transform the classroom experiences into living classrooms where we ensure our students are engaged in understanding our world and solving real problems. We are showing our students that their education has immediate value. Through student opportunities, electives, arts, athletics, Technical innovation and environment, every student, regardless of their interest, has a pathway to excel and an opportunity to find their why. The most vital part of this ongoing work is cultivating a belonging for all. We are committed to ensuring every student feels safe, heard, and seen, and knows they are needed in their classroom because our students' backgrounds are assets. We're creating psychological safety where a student and staff member can fail and try again without fear of shame. We're ensuring that every child sees themselves reflected in our leadership and in our lessons. When we lead with support, learn through partnership, and anchor everything in belonging, we are enriching lives. We're not just preparing kids for the real world, we are showing them that they have the power to shape it. And with that, mostly we always put this in our presentation, but I want to spend a couple minutes explaining since we have a couple new people here. So this is our visual for the Clipper experience. It is grounded in the Clipper experience and through a community committed to excellence in every student every day. With two grounding beliefs is that two-way communication and partnerships is absolutely needed to make the Clipper experience come to life, as well as diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. They are foreground of what we do. So this is our visual for the Clipper experience. And now we're going to begin our district goals. 3 goals, 1 the student learning goal, 2 professional practice goal, and 3 the district growth goal. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the super Stephen Kapolka.
Thank you. So I'm going to share with you first the shared understandings that follow our base, build a foundation for our student learning goal. And that's the biggest one I feel like is our district. All students are general education students first. Students learn when they feel, students learn best when they feel like they belong and see themselves in their, in themselves, in their learning, in their apparatuses for learning. We have a multi-tiered system of supports that we use to process, as a process with our teachers and our staff to make sure that the students' needs are met at all times. We feel like student success is a shared responsibility for our whole staff. And in the pursuit of excellence, we meet students where they are and provide the necessary supports and resources for every student every day. Now, Shannon, stupendous Shannon Carlson is going to take over for me.
Well, you heard the why, let us tell you about the what. So these are our actions when we're thinking about our student learning goal. First and foremost, we've engaged in professional learning and monitored the implementation of a new curriculum. We're continuing to collaborate within different departments within our schools. Our general education classrooms, our special educators, our English language development educators, because we believe in that continuous collaboration and growth. And then, of course, we have to nurture our relationships with our community partners and advance the implementation of that multi-tiered system of supports so that we can give every student what they need. And now I'm going to pass it on to Timeless Tim Adams.
So the basis of the student learning goal, you can see on the screen. All students deserve a safe, supportive, and inclusive learning environment with access to high standards, and with all of them having a pathway to achieve excellence. So our goal really targets 3 areas: academics, behavior, and social and emotional learning. And I'll turn it over now to the amicable Alan Harris.
You can see we went to the number 3 font. We're not gonna read through every bullet for you. We're gonna get some of the highlights that we have there, because I think there's things that we think collectively we're pretty proud of. And one of the things I think is fundamental for all of us, and really proud to be a part of, is that, safety before challenge, and first needs to be a safe and supportive environment, and that leads to being able to have a Clipper culture that's supportive of building capability. And when that is in place, then you can provide the academic rigor and challenge for their academic success. And so, touching on those 3, I'm gonna lead off with the work, kind of continuous efforts related to safe and supportive environment. And really grateful to our partners with PD and Fire Department, as well as Mike Curley and Paul Dart on the work done the last 2+ years of really building the capacity of all of our staff in response to ALICE drills, emergency drills, being able to learn as they go, both in terms of evacuation as well as barricade and other pieces as we work on those drills, doing 2 of those in each of the buildings this year, as well as the reunification that happened and will continue. Also, really working collectively on building that Clipper culture, and that's been an effort the last 2 or 3 years, thinking in really a PK through 13 process. And a few times throughout the year, things often at high schools can be the high school spirit days, the high school homecoming. And I think there's been an effort the last few years to really think about that district-wide and celebrate that. With spirit days, bringing students, expanding on the step-up nights and other things related to homecoming, but also our growth of the, what was No Guff and now is really Kindness Week, and bringing that together. And a huge shout out and compliment to our 9th grade group at the high school that reinvigorated the video and brought the elementary students in and around and really tapped on that strong foundation and tradition, but really with an eye also towards the future. And then the third piece of what happens at the end of the year, last couple of years, thanks to a teacher idea of teachers from elementary and middle school coming on graduation morning and seeing the graduates before they go. And that's grown each year and has been a huge part of what we do, as well as the always great walk of honor. But added this year, something that I think really captures that idea of how we really build that Clipper culture all the way through, was the Clipper Community Game Day, which was a special day when you get a police escort into the high school and have a great day. So I'm going to turn it over to Sandy, kind-hearted Captain Billis.
Well, thank you, Dr. Harris. So we did celebrate our first annual Clipper Community Game Day at the Falmouth High School for students in pre-K to 22, and this was for students with more intensive special needs. So all of the cooperative games and activities were facilitated by our peer leaders, students from the Falmouth High School. And I think we had an abundance of students volunteer to support the event. And I think it really speaks to that Clipper culture of opportunities that we've provided for students to be in an inclusive environment and develop that sense of empathy and collaboration and being educated together. So next year we're looking forward to what will be our second event. And kind of on this same theme, during this school year, we continued our work with Special Olympics to become a unified school district. So the Unified Champion Schools programs are aimed at promoting social inclusion through intentionally planned and implemented activities. So this year we had 3 more schools participate, Mullen, East, and Morse Pond, and they were engaging our students in meaningful inclusion through unified sports, youth leadership, and school activities. So now, at the end of this school year, we are considered a unified district. All of our schools have participated, which is pretty special. So as we think about the fact that all students learn differently, we're focusing on our MTSS, or the multi-tiered systems of support. And this is really a proactive approach to identifying support students who may need additional support academically, behaviorally, or social emotionally. And this year we expanded the use of one specific tool from within the Power School program to more effectively collect behavioral data for us to use in planning those interventions. We also focused on our DCAP, or the District Curriculum Accommodation Plan, and this is a specific plan that outlines strategies to support all students with their diverse learning needs, and so that they can all be successful in the education setting. And now I'm going to turn it over to the delightful Dr. Tellier to focus on the progress we've made with teaching and learning.
So thank you, Cindy. So I think one of the things that stands out when we're talking about teaching and learning, and the through line here, is really setting intentional conditions for students to learn and be successful. So when we cross over to computer space and situate ourselves in classrooms, we can look at a list from continued implementation of iReady and looking at this year's first year implementation of EL Education for Literacy, the work we've done around investigating history and chasing phenomena in our science classrooms, and being able to look at that, but also the specialized attention to instruction and services and how those coordinate to really lift our students up so that they meet a success. Beyond that too, we look at partnerships that happen not just with community partners, but among departments. And as we've grown and we've been able to build out our programming, we have more and more of our departments building their own connections. So one that we called out when we were preparing for this, inside the is the relationship between our world language and our English language development program. And one of the things that we're really excited to celebrate is a record number of students earning the seal of biliteracy and the seal of distinction this year. But the continued work that they're doing and where that's showing up, including training with our school secretaries this past spring, so that from registration to placement to learning, right, those conditions of success, as someone else on the team said, that lift everything else up. And one of the other successes, just to kind of call out, threaded through this, that started in the classroom with super curious students and has grown, is our robotics program. And the success that they saw from the Regal Sieglets in elementary, who showed off to you when we were at North, all the way to our high school and Lawrence students at Worlds. And just a shout out to Carmela as well, right, in traveling and supporting. But those are all different ways that success manifests itself across these different dimensions, all because of the shared work in which we're all engaged. So as we kind of close out goal 1 and set ourselves up to go forward to goal 2, I would love to introduce to you the gradient Rose.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tellier. So goal 2, our professional practice goal, again. The why of our professional practice goal is the belief of our shared understandings. I cannot read it from here, so I do have to read it from my size 14 font. Everyone has a voice. All communications to families or community members will be provided in translation by the author. Parent guardian requests for translation and interpretation are made on the whole language survey as a routine step in the registration process and annual forms update, both hosted in Preschool. In a summary of content, current communications outreach creates trust and promotes transparency. To speak to the what, the actions, Rocky Rebecca, all right.
So how did we get to our professional practice goal? Really, the professional practice goal is about taking that feedback and implementing it as we're continuous learners and continuing to grow in our profession. And some of the pieces that we implemented this year is we expanded the use of feedback from families during community events. Whether that was a QR code that you saw posted around the school, whether that was something that was printed on a program that you maybe received, as well as perhaps you encountered a link in a family communication. Those are all ways that we were continuing to expand that feedback loop so that we can again take that feedback and implement it in the growth and change. We also created a task force to focus on receiving feedback from our entire district partners. And that task force created the survey, and we implemented the survey mid-year with all of our inclusive partners within the school district. And those, was a great data review for our team to be able to go back and see all of that feedback that we're receiving. Again, always developing that professional practice goal. And to share that, we have the polished, ever so polished Paul.
So I'll read you now the goal that Rose and Rebecca have given you, the what and why of goal number 2. Goal number 2, our professional practice goal is advance the work already started to both sustain and expand communication practices and seek feedback from staff, students, and families to gain a better understanding of the impact and effectiveness of our actions and determine areas for improvement. And with that, to go into details, I'll turn it over to Harmonious Henry.
Harmonious, love it, love it. So I'm gonna follow Dr. Harris's habit of not reading each one, so we're gonna make sure that's not gonna happen. But we're gonna break it up down in 3 different levels. In the communications desk, I will talk the district level. Radiant Rose will do the family level, and then Terrific Tom will do the student initiative that we're doing. So I would like to say that right away that the amount of volume, consistency, and intentionality of communication that's come out from the district level is really significantly increased this year. And there's different things that we've done and I would like to say a couple things. I think the one big one is the direct letters and updates that come from the central office. It goes out at least twice a month, and that really is a steady and I feel really predictable. Like parents are ready and seeing some stuff that's going on there, so that's really good. We've launched this year at our first district-wide all staff surveys. And that's important, that gives this nice feedback, it's been consistent, and we'll be looking at monitoring the growth year for year. So this is not just a 1 year, but this is now the standard we're gonna be doing. Visibility's increased. Dr. Dora has been going into every school and having those one-on-one individual time with staff members to make sure that there's a direct line between leadership and staff. And then the district team has gone to staff meetings. And this year we've gone to three times to every single school and making sure that we're talking to staff. We ask them openly, you know, what can we talk about? We don't come with an agenda. We're asking for their feedback and their opinions and all that. So that's been very powerful. In response, there was one response the teachers really wanted. They felt like in different individual schools, they didn't know what was going on in other areas. And so this year, it's a bi-weekly news from central office, it's a newsletter, and they get news from each one of us and looking at updates, shares, things to celebrate, things that are coming up. That's been very powerful. We've been asking educators, how do you like the newsletter? Is it too much, too little? And it's been really positive and from everywhere we've gone. So that's been really good. Next year, we started this year, we're planning an exciting new branding and marketing framework that's gonna be ready to prepare for next year. So stay tuned, stay tuned, it's gonna come. So I'm very excited about that. And now, to make sure that we get the family setting, we're gonna go to Radiant. Is it Radiant?
It can be.
Okay,
Whatever.
Radiant.
It can be. So, again, as part of our professional practice goal, we have two parts. How do we sustain our current communication with families? And then how do we expand it by collectively looking for feedback in ways to keep our partnership with families moving forward. The 7 principals send out weekly family letters each week, and they are both provided in English and translated formats to ensure equitable access for all our families. And then collecting and expanding family feedback, we started with, as Rebecca said, in our weekly letters, we have embedded links that families can send us directly to the principals, thoughts and concerns. Always, of course, email and phone calls are a way, or just walk in. Most of us have a drop-in method of coming through the front door, after you sign in, of course. We've included QR codes. We've tried that numerous ways with district events, and we will continue our work with that in an effort to find a way to provide immediate feedback to us. We have initiated beginning stages of combining our PTO packets. We've met once, and we want to continue to meet with the 4 PTOs to see how we can be a cohesive community network. And then we also have our LPAC and CPAC meetings for families to ensure their unique perspectives directly to inform district plans and educational opportunities. Now, back to Sonia. Terrific, Tom, sorry.
Terrific.
ST, I don't know the ABCs.
Hello everyone, so for student voice opportunities, we've made some significant gains we try to do every year. One throughway across the district has been through the work with equity teams. Starting at the elementary school level, the equity team check-ins have been really intentional working with students, up to Morse Pond with the work with No Place for Hate. At Lawrence School, we made efforts this year to improve our student input through warrant committee surveys, polling the whole student body and hearing back from over 50% of the kids on items like school culture and practices across the school building. At the high school and at Lawrence as well, the students participated in Socratic seminars weighing in on AI, which is obviously going to be very important to the kids in their daily lives going forward. For the community, we have started to share in collaboration with Dr. Doerr positive experiences in the schools on a weekly basis through the Clipper Corner, and we've received a lot of positive feedback from community members who no longer have kids in the school district or have never had kids in the school district, who just want to hear about the daily experiences of the students across the school building. So that's been a wonderful addition. And for families, sixth grade particularly. We reach out to families to learn about some student interest for re-implementation of a Portuguese class at the seventh grade. And I'm happy to report that we had enough student interest coming in from sixth grade families to reintroduce Portuguese as a class at the Lawrence School for the year. So we have a lot of students, family members who are happy about that news, as well as the big win today in Portugal. So I'm at this time going to turn it over to talk about the district growth goal to the amazing Mr. Adams.
So transitioning to our third goal, I was excited as we talked about this last summer in our administrative work days, talking with Mr. Dart about how to evolve this goal into incorporating an academic piece with what's going on in the district and some of the projects that are happening and how students can be involved and show their learning. So some of the shared understandings we have for this goal is there's a strong connection between academic learning and practical experiential learning. There's always a connection between what we are learning in the classroom and what's happening in the community. And finally, students can make a meaningful impact as they learn to take ownership for their actions and their learning and to make an impact on the world around them, to really become informed, responsible, productive citizens. And with that, look at our action steps like the turn back over to East Helpless, Sandy, Councilor Bellis.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. So the actions taken to address this goal would be to increase our connections between the facility upgrades and the classroom learning, to align our district-wide sustainability planning with relevant local workforce opportunities for students. And for example, we hosted the Cape and Islands Big Blue Conference this year, which focused on the local blue economy. That was very successful. We've been strengthening the Clipper Compost program with a web-based data dashboard and making use of student-collected data across grades and subjects. Now I'll turn it over to the marvelous Mr. Kabolka.
All right, now I'll share with you our district growth goal. It is to advance the work already started to both sustain and expand sustainability practices, to ensure our collective work is anchored in line with our comprehensive curriculum.
You don't know who's the first one.
It's spectacular, it's on the television.
So as we begin to look at the progress for this goal, I think it's really exciting to think about when we first started out with some of our partnerships and situating them in living classrooms, right? Spaces around our community, we had 3 or 4 that spanned across grades. We now have them across every grade, K through 9. 9th grade came online this year with the biology classes going to Manomet, Bird Sanctuary and Observatory. And then we are in the planning process, we're gonna do a reverse field trip in pre-K next year. So we're gonna bring our partners to pre-K until we build capacity to go on. But also within that and thinking about the work that we're doing, scaling it across at the high school to think about our food justice initiative and our food justice program with Dr. Harden. And so if you visited the high school recently, you've seen the new plantings, the extension of the orchard, the corn is set in the bed, the strawberries are out there, and it's just wonderful to walk up every morning and kind of see what progress is happening and what's going on there. So as we continue to go through that work, we've also moved things from one grade to another grade to make sure it's perfectly, aligned and articulated, and that one grade doesn't have so many experiences and another grade doesn't have enough. And it goes beyond our STEM learning, and it affects cultural learning, the partnership with the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe, the partnership with the Cape Cod Cape Verdean Museum and Cultural Center. If there are any World Cup plugs, that's a big one. So, it's just been absolutely fascinating once you start, metaphor comes off food justice, planting a few seeds, right? Look at the harvest. And so it's just been wonderful to have that opportunity. So to continue telling our story of success, I'd love to bring Miss Sally Shannon back into the conversation.
Thank you. Well, if you're going to be focusing on sustainability, you also have to be thinking about building opportunities for our students and staff to enjoy the fruits of their labor, unintended. So, we're going to be thinking about our space, our schedules, and our resources. And when we're thinking about those outdoor learning spaces, we are very proud to share that our gardening club at Lawrence is thriving. Our outdoor learning restoration at Mullen and at East is happening. Greenhouse committee at North Falmouth, and there's increasing availability of those garden supplies for our students and our staff to make that work happen and enjoy it as well. And then, of course, we have to think about our school-wide events that also bring our students out of the walls of our classroom and bring the classroom outside. So we have beautiful events such as Walk to School, Bike to School. And then we also have the opportunity for our students to enjoy at the high school now, coming up, the project adventure, which is pretty exciting to see that right there when you're driving by. And then our health and wellness committee is district-wide, but it happens in every single school. So that we're not just talking about sustainability in the sense of our resources, both the natural and ones that we create, but also that we're having lifelong wellness as a staff and as a community of Clippers. And then we also, in addition to that, we have opportunities such as Harvest of the Month, which again is district-wide, but then at each of our schools, we take our own spin on it. And to dig in a little bit deeper into the uniqueness of our each schools with that district through line is Rocky Rebecca.
All right, excellent. So to just talk a little bit more about how we are connecting our students to the sustainability, they're taking their learning and really applying it. And we talk about our green teams at our elementary schools. And the green teams have taken leadership roles in the composting and recycling effort. So we've been talking about composting for a while. We've had our students, really get used to it in the cafeteria. Well, now our green teams are getting involved by actually taking the data and reviewing it and sharing that data out to our school communities so we can, again, kind of see what's happening with our efforts. In the same regard with our recycling program in school, the students are going in and they are talking to each classroom and talking to them about what goes in the recycle bin, what doesn't go in the recycle bin, and how we've really expanded that effort, that it's beyond paper, it's any other recyclable material. And again, they're tracking how much that they're collecting, weighing it. So those are really those practical uses of our sustainability efforts being put into the hands of students. So we're looking forward to that, and that also starts to expand in some of those efforts, such as those community partnerships with beach cleanups and getting out in the community and really seeing how those efforts can make a difference in our community, as well as, just even around our school grounds and taking that impact right directly around the building that all students and staff care about. So it's a really great way that illustrates how we continue to take our learning and have our students actually experience it and continue to expand on those efforts. And to wrap it up, I am going to send it back over to our leader, Lori. Thank you. Thank you to our outstanding team. I hope that what we were able to convey is that the Clipper experience is very unique in Falmouth, and that we model every single day how we look for the uniqueness in our students, and we celebrate that, and they feel like they belong, and when you feel like you belong, you feel like you're safe, and you grow. And so that's what we're creating here. And so with that, if you have any questions, they're all here. The outstanding team is here to answer questions.
Sandy, can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
When you said that Power School was being used to input student behavior data, I wish we had been able to do that when I was in principal.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a separate program for that, but, so is it able to produce like drilled down reports of like areas of the school, times of the day, and all of that for principals?
As long as the person types it all in, yes.
So is it done connected via log entries, or is it a different,
Well,
two
different,
steps?
separate from log entries.
Okay,
So it's not
double work.
Go ahead.
What you would really like as a principal is the idea that the teacher can, as they're working with a student, right? Bill Allen Harris is, disrupting his own learning or disrupting others or whatever's going on, and maybe they talk to him when they're processing or contact the family. They can go in and log that just for them. And then maybe they run it again can talk to them separately. And then it needs to rise, if they need something else to do, that's already logged and they can send it. So they're not, like that referral the teacher used to have to fill out and list everything, it's all embedded. And then it goes in, the assistant principal, whoever, or adjustment counselor can help and support. And then that is kept to be able to have that piece in place. It's a really neat tool. It's taken us up to 3 years to kind of get it begin to flow, and I think we're really excited about where it can go.
And it's nice because it's not separate from Power School, so they did, Power School purchased or took over a company that was doing this and now it's integrated into the Power School.
I'm sure it was so for each, yeah. And is the data ever shared with the students? Like in a formal way, so they can target their own behavior?
More on an individual basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just one other question, if you guys could just, the principals could just give me an example of what MTSS looks like in your building, just one strategy, I'm just curious.
Sure, I can start. We have a team of people, usually the principal, assistant principal, our guidance counselors, reading specialists, special education teachers. We'll meet with the teacher that brought the student forward, for lack of a better term, to IST or MTSS, and we go through 6 week windows where we try different ideas to help the student. It might be meeting with OT for 3 weeks and doing that, or working with the reading specialist on the phonetic awareness or digraphs and so forth, and set another date, keep that data, then we meet again and go over the results, and then depending on what occurs, what the team agrees to, we may move on to another set of 6 week goals, or move the student on to something else, or have some testing done. It could be like a
So the
several
traditional
process.
student study team,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
I would say so, at least in my building, it should.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna start go down the line?
It's probably the same.
Well, I would do a tier one with the behavior, but if it came up on kickboard, right, and we looked at that behavior, we had the student in, we might then go in, somebody may go in and model, what intervention would you use with that student? Is it a walking break? Is it an area of the room that they have to have a little break space, so that would be kind of a tier one that you would then instruct the teacher, right? Like, let's try to give you this intervention and to kind of implement in your room so the student isn't back out. That would be like a behavior of tier one.
You mentioned kickboard, which is the Power School behavior program, so.
I'm just kind of taking it to a
I
bigger
thought you
lens.
meant a kid kicked the ball.
Yeah. Taking it to a bigger lens, we did a lot of work with our building scheduling, and so with the new adoption of the EL program, really instituting blocks, this is, coming from the elementary, a block of time that every student is in the classroom for tier one instruction. Then we're building in the next layer where we are pushing in some support, whether that's our ELD teacher team, whether that's our special education teacher, whether that's our reading specialist. And that's another layer where we're adding in another tier of support, but still, again, trying to maintain more of that in-classroom support before it becomes that tier 3 coming out for perhaps an additional dose. So that's kind of a way that I see academics with the different tiers that we've implemented recently.
Yeah, so you mean tier 2 or?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have an intervention block in your schedules?
So it is built in with some intervention time, absolutely, that students are, and again, it's been a very careful matrix that we've been putting together. So, previously it was almost like teachers are in the hallway negotiating, when can I take Rebecca for this service, or this kind of support check-in. So now we've really built that structure so that we know the times that we can best pull from, so that students, again, are all available for tier 1 instruction.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I would just add that my colleagues have offered very specific and very powerful examples of the academic, social, emotional learning and the new behavioral aspects of MTSS. So when we're talking about that multi-tiered systems of support, it could be any of those 3 domains. And the most important thing is to think about, as Rebecca had mentioned, is that we're layering in terms of a very strategic and intentional time, area of focus that we have to as Stephen mentioned, maybe it's OT, maybe it's focus on behavior, as Rose mentioned. It's all about the student and what they need. But we also have to make sure that every single child deserves and has that opportunity for that tier 1. So it's a layering effect, but it's one that is strategic, intentional, and across our buildings, consistent in the application, and that's important.
All right, thank you for sharing.
One thing, Jamie, let's let somebody else get a turn.
Oh, sorry.
I know you could go all day. Glenda, you got something?
Well, first of all, thank you for all of your work and very impressive in terms of your action steps. And I was intrigued by the information that you had been sending out surveys to families since February and also are starting a district-wide staff survey. And I know that your goals in doing that will be different than our goal or our use of the information, but I think it would be very helpful for us to get kind of a synopsis of what your findings are and also how that's translating into areas of improvement, you said, because that helps us to kind of get keep our fingers on the pulse of what's happening, and then we don't replicate, because we've talked a lot about doing surveys, and maybe the data's already there. We don't have to do it again, so thank you.
Any other? Sue, you have some?
Thank you, all of you, very much. I am so thrilled in regards to the increase in morale at the different schools. It's been a long time coming, and the kids appreciate it, the families appreciate it. The communication is on everyone's mind, and you have brought to the conversation this evening specifics. I appreciate the fact that Dr. Doerr's column is in the Enterprise. Also the weekly family letters that go out. My one suggestion would be is if we could figure out a way to get the information regarding the next step up for families, like in preparation, like perhaps sending the high school weekly letter that's published to the 7th and 8th grade families somehow, so they can see exactly what's going on a regular basis. That might be helpful even in regards to people making decisions early on. Someone mentioned the bi-weekly from the central office newsletter. I'm wondering if this is something that school committee members can receive as well. It may help jog some information for us as well. I'm amazed by the leadership team and what's going on right now in the system, and thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Great job.
Katrina, did I see you wave?
Yeah, I love that idea, Susan, of the, having school committee receive the report and also getting 7th and 8th grade parents. But yeah, I think that was a lot, and it was a lot of work, and I can really see how hard you guys are all working. I love these presentations every year. That's really wonderful to see all of you in one room. This might be a very silly question, but what is secretary training? That's my first question.
So we provided training for our secretaries about how the home language survey has changed and then what it means. Yep. So
I thought you were
secretaries.
taking students and teaching them how to be secretaries. Okay. Okay, so that was a silly question. Oh, the task force, that was something in the past that you've already done, the task force for, do you know what I'm talking about, a slide?
So we ourselves called ourselves the task force.
Oh, okay.
To create that survey to send out to our entire district.
Okay.
So, it was something that when we were talking through the beginning phases, it was something that we, decided we need to, it's not only our teaching staff, it's our custodial staff, it's our cafeteria staff, so we really can get the lens of the whole district. So we were the task force.
Okay, great. And then for the language survey, I forget who presented that one, but you were talking about how, well, on the slide it said.
Language survey,
Yeah, on the slide it said it was for grades 5 through 8 world language survey.
Oh,
And
that's
then in the presentation, it was about grade 7, 6th grade parents getting the survey, and I was.
So I specifically asked through Amazing Mr. Adams, for families of incoming 7th graders, specifically who would be interested in which language, French, Spanish, or Portuguese.
Oh, I see, okay, that was the piece I was missing. Why Portuguese, how did you choose that, and why were you surveying parents? That was the part of, I didn't realize it was more than one language you were asking for.
Well, we already have French and Spanish, so it was to see if there was enough interest to introduce Portuguese as an additional option.
Okay, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. That is it. Oh, sorry, Mike. Yep.
No, I just put it up. Thank you all for coming, I'll make it short and sweet. I like what Sue said about the emails to the schools. Is there a way that we could put all the school emails on the website? Because I know a lot of the times you're looking through your emails, you're like, oh, this is happening this day. I don't know if we could have like a page for every school or all the emails so people can go back and look at stuff. That was my first thing. My second thing about the Clipper Corner, I think Henry talks about it, so he's the expert, Miss Henry.
Like this, the high school goes to the students on their school education, it also goes on the website.
Thank you so much. And then back to the Clipper Corner expert, Henry. Just,
I sound just like him.
you? I'm sorry.
I was the one that was talking about it.
So Dr. Dorr, you write all of the Clipper Corners?
No, they're pulling them in.
Okay, that was my question. Then do students also write those? Or just the teachers and all you all?
I'm not the expert of Clipper Corner.
The principals, yeah.
She's a principal of the
Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's a portion of like what we would be sending in the weekly message, just a reference, just a promotion of something great that's going on at the school.
All right, then, you ever let students add anything or not?
Yeah.
You have, okay. I'm just saying, oh, you haven't, okay. And just to be printed in the local paper,
You just I'm so sorry.
out of turn.
No, it's out of turn, but you just reminded me, the Martha's Vineyard newspapers always had like a special page from the, maybe it was half a page from the high school newspaper club. I don't know if there is one at the high school here. But it would get published like, news from the high school by the high school.
And I think, yeah, that was my point, thank you,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's all I have.
To that point, for years, there was a student intelligence,
Yeah, we did.
which was a journalism class at the high school. And as well, there was a page from, I believe, Roland Hall at one point, with obviously student involvement. I think that was a choice of the enterprise not to have that. But if possible, that would be another incentive for families.
Is that what you're gonna say, Melissa?
So I totally remember the student intelligence that we had. It was a full page, I think. I don't think it was once a week, although it could have been because the newspaper came out 3 times a week back then. And then there was the rotation of the elementary school with the Lawrence and Morse Pond as well. And that had been going on for many, many years. That's not why I initially raised my hand, but I wanted to speak to a couple things. First, thank you for everything. That was a lot of information and a lot of work, and I really appreciate everyone that's here and presenting and all of your hard work. I am thrilled to hear that there's been a request for information from families on if there is an interest in having Portuguese coming from East Falmouth. I couldn't support that anymore, and I think that although Ms. Medeiros is not here, she would as well as maybe someone's husband who's also not here, but who's also been a proponent for it as well. I also wanted to just make mention something that Doc Harris said many years ago, that every time I hear this presentation and presentations similar to this, that Falmouth Public Schools is like a private school experience at the public school level. And I think a lot of times our community takes advantage of that, and that we don't always see it for what it is, but Your presentation tonight really reminds us all of that, so, thank you all. I, on behalf of, I assume most of the town also appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add. Thank you. Oh, Margaret, did you have something?
Well, no, I just wanted to say thank you. This is always my favorite meeting of the year. To meet all of you, to hear all of you, and the enthusiasm, the commitment that all of you have. And I know we have outstanding teachers, and thank you for being their leaders, and I'm sure your spirit helps to permeate their wonderful dedication. And we're just grateful for all of you, and you should come back more often.
I liked how you guys talked with pride about each other's schools and how things were going on in other schools, not just your own. That is really amazing. Should be proud of that.
Yes, the leadership team.
Yeah.
Thank you, fabulous teachers. Thank you so much. Thanks for having a meeting that day, Jess.
I'm a little disappointed to hear that 3 meetings in my 3-year tenure, we just keep.
Yeah. They come every year.
To be a long 49.
Become twice a year.
Yeah. But this one is fun because you're reporting on the things
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
done.
yeah.
So not just the planning part. Okay. Oh, different role. So we'll move on. Now we're actually gonna do the update on the North Falmouth Truss project. Laura.
So I'm gonna turn this right over to Paul. In your packet was the latest report and the FAQ document that Paul had put together. So if you'll highlight those for us, appreciate it. Paul, thank you.
Okay, so, you can see, we'll give a little context to the surf zone report. You may recall the surf zone engineering firm was brought in by Maya, the insurance agency that, the insurance company for the town. And in the purpose of this report is to determine the cause and the origin of the damage to the North Falmouth roof trusses. And as well as ultimately to go forward is to design the replacement trusses, the repairs for the trusses, replacement for trusses, for example, for room 40, where the heavy damage was room 38, one truss there, but the rest will be reinforced, as we've talked about. I think the conclusion to the report, I just wanted to point out, there's photos on page 15 of this report that shows you, this was actually taken by James Minor, one of the custodians, the nighttime leader, who was taking out the building at the time of the February snowstorm. This is the, you see the page 15, on the top photo, you see the over 2 feet of snow that were resting on the roof. And this, as well as if you look at the front of the building, the 2 shots on the bottom, and you'll see that there's very little snow accumulation on the front. So the North Falmouth Elementary faces directly northeast. So the wind was coming right down across the front of the roof, and the snowdrifts were on the back side of the roof. That heavy picture there where you can see the arrows are with the snow accumulation, it just gives you a sense of 1 foot of snow is anywhere, wet dense snow, it's anywhere from 25 to 50 pounds per cubic foot. So you can see there's over 2 feet of snow on that roof section. So that, you know, just think of that in perspective to the snow load capacity of North Falmouth was around 30 pounds for that roof. So as the report stated, it looked at a number of potential contributing factors to it, not just the snow, but the roof, the new roof, roof modifications, the deficiencies in the original construction. It also looked at aging deficiencies of the wood structures and so on. But it came to the conclusion that the snow load was the triggering event to the North Falmouth failure in 48 and 30, and the damage that was done in the other section. So that on that basis, as you're aware, Maya has agreed to pay for the damages on the classroom section of this building, the 1963 portion of the building. The administrative wing, which also has wooden trusses, and that includes the principal's office, the conference room, a nursing office, psychologist's office, and a staff room. Those offices are still being evaluated. They're coming back on site on Friday to evaluate the administrative wing to determine whether snow damage there was a cause to that wing of the building, and if so, then it's again an insurance thing. So that determination hasn't been made yet. They're just working on this in the limited time that they have. So with that, work starts actually on the 27th, on Saturday. They arrive on site, so this Saturday, and start preparing the building. Our own custodians, we have about 15 of them, who will begin moving out all of the furniture from the classrooms, and putting it into the cafeteria, into the gymnasium, clear out that wing, they then put down protective floor, put protective wall coverings, etc. Take down all the ceilings, and they immediately will start beginning the work to repair all of the wooden trusses. The timetable for the classrooms is that they'll be completed with the reinforcement or replacement by August 21st. So a few days before school and staff, before students and staff repair the school. Staff come back, I believe, on the 24th, the students come back on the 26th. So they'll be done, they're scheduled to be done, and they'll be running several shifts. There'll be one running weekends. It is full throttle effort to get this work done. But the repair work within the trusses for all of the classrooms will be done by August 23rd. We are still waiting, as I mentioned, for them to come on Friday for the engineers to do a more formal evaluation of the administrative wing. So those questions are still open, but the bulk of the building will be done by the 21st. Our goal is to have everything done, but it may just be timing on the administrative wing to get that done. So with that, I think we're in decent shape. We have, as we've mentioned in the past, if there's a residual amount for incidentals, or if we end up by doing the repair work, we've made arrangements in our budget for this year. We've encumbered money, $200,000 for potential repairs. We also have $289,000 remaining in the North Falmouth roof article to pay for any amounts that we would potentially pay for the administrative component. So we should be covered by that in what we've prepared so far. With that, I'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you to the custodians for this $2.5 million photo.
Yeah, that is.
Because this is probably the most expensive photo I've ever seen. Sue.
Has there been any indication that the supplies that will be used, for instance, the roof shingles, the tile on the floor, any issues with color matching or change in design?
No, in fact, we do have extra tiles from the repair job that we did last year.
Okay, great.
No, it should be. And the roofing for room 40, the roof will, that roof section will actually be removed.
Right.
But it's the same company that'll be putting the new roof on it, so it should be very close.
Keep an eye on that.
No, they did it. They, by the way, they did a nice job.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm not clear, are you doing both sides of the hallway? We've talked about 40 and 38.
Yes.
But you're doing the odd number of rooms also.
That's right, so every classroom on that wing of the building,
Yeah.
so all the 1963 classrooms, which is everything, if you walk in the front door, everything to your left down that hallway is done.
And then when you talk about the administrative offices, you're talking about basically what's straight ahead when you walk into the school building and off to the right of it?
That's right, so you have, immediately, you have the secretary's, the principal's office, the conference room, you have nursing offices.
Okay, so it's comprehensive of all the roof trusses.
That's right.
In the building. Second question is, in the report, it says to the effect of, we need to design do design work to determine the best way to reinforce the structures. But you just said that they're starting work on the 27th, so have they done that design work now?
They are in process, so that the new trusses will actually be put in room 40. So they are in the process of designing those trusses.
Yeah.
And will be coming in as part of their work on Friday, not only on the admin wing, but also in the early morning, they're spending the bulk of their time in room 40, coming up with the final design for those trusses. 'Cause those trusses will actually have to be sent out and manufactured and then brought back in.
So that's opposed to the other rooms where they're just gonna be reinforcing?
That's right, so in the other rooms, they will be coming in and putting steel plates along the horizontal components, the cords of the trusses, and likewise the steel plates on the webs, the vertical components of the trusses.
Yeah.
And then bolting those to the existing cords, the existing wooden components.
Okay.
And then there'll be, so you'll have two boards like this.
I don't care about the exact details, but I do care that they've been designed by and signed off by a professional engineer, that this is the approved, this will do the job for reinforcing the existing rooms. And then you're working on a new plan for the completely rebuilt trusses.
That's right.
And that's all signed off by an engineer?
Yes.
Okay,
yes. Yeah. The same engineer is doing
Is that Surf Zone or?
Surf Zone. So Surf Zone Engineering is the one that came in to do this report. They also will be designing the solution for it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the line, but it said be verified through detailed engineering analysis in the report we just read, and then they are going to do the verified.
Yes.
And they'll be doing that between the 27th and the 29th?
That's right. So the major work, the major design of the new trusses for room 40, that will be done by July 15th. This work on the other classroom is much more immediate. They'll be coming in and actually starting to assemble that earlier, because it's more or less just steel plates that they're putting up, as opposed to replacing the whole truss.
Brenda, you had something?
I think Janie had her hand up first.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Janie.
Well, can we just make sure, you and I discussed this when I was out at North Falmouth, but as part of an action step and ongoing maintenance of the roof, that regardless of the age of the roof, if there's a lot of snow, that the roofs be swept, just as part of routine maintenance?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. So I read the SLAM feasibility study, and one of on page 9, it says, we do not recommend reinforcing existing trusses from the underside due to the difficulty of measuring and extensive field welding above finished spaces. So is this reinforcement going to be done from the underside, or is there a different approach?
No, so you're talking about the feasibility study report from Lynn, from the original. if we had added solar panels to the roof. This report, the solution that they're having is coming in, they will be cut and loaded outside the building and then come in and attach to the existing beams that are.
Oh, because on page, they address the solar panel issue on page 10, saying it's beyond the scope of this study to decide if they, so I'm just having a little trouble wrapping my head around that. The other thing that I just would like, if you could walk me through this, Paul. So I know that this whole issue, you had mentioned that to avoid having it re-inspected, the weight of the new and existing roof materials had to fall below 5% of the existing. So the roof they put on had to be less than 5%. So in the SLAM report, it said that 5% threshold works out to be approximately 1.5 PSF. But in the fact sheet that you sent out, it said that the figure came to 1.92. So how did it get shifted up?
It's actually pretty simple. There are different, the 1.5 is sort of an average across, a conservative number across the entire roof. The roof, when you go to do the calculation, you have to do the roof in very specific sections. So in this section, if you remember looking up in the inside of the roof, you saw the tongue of the roof paneling, the wood paneling. So that wood paneling adds weight to the entire roof structure in that section. Whereas if you look down into the 1988 section of the building, there is no wood paneling on that roof section. And so the differential there is lower than the differential in the 1963 section. So the 1.5 was sort of a conservative number at the time of the engineering study at the beginning across the entire roof structure. The actual 5% rule was based on the weight of the existing section of that roof of 1963, which had included that tongue and groove wood tiles. I know that's a pretty technical answer, but there is a substantial weight difference in.
I know, very impressive.
No, but that's a simple answer. So the difference in the new roof, the insulated roof, was 1.9 pounds per square foot. In that section, in order to be under the 5%, it had to be under 2.1 pounds per square foot for that section.
Well, the only reason I'm querying that is that wasn't mentioned in the feasibility report, because it said that should the threshold of 1.5 be exceeded, the gravity and wind uplift load paths would need to be reassessed and reinforced as necessary. So I'm just, again, trying to wrap my head around the discrepancy. And then the only other point that,
I want to make sure for the people in the audience to understand. In the 2023 engineering report, that report was to determine if the weight of the additions of solar panels could be done with the existing roof. And the conclusion of that report was that the solar panel additions would ultimately be a level 2 alteration, which would cause you to then go back and have to reinforce the structure of the roof. When they added the new roof to it, it's a separate detailed study that goes into that in order to accomplish those engineering plans to get done. And that's where the calculation that you're referring to is a 1.9 pound difference which is under the 2.1 pounds for that section of the building.
I guess just my own confusion is that the 1.5 is on page 9 and the solar panels are addressed on page 10. And it said these assumptions would need to be confirmed through destructive materials testing of the wood, field measurements, blah, blah, blah. Obtaining this information would be beyond the scope of this study, as it would require a contractor to remove ceiling finishes and MEPs to make these measurements and tests. So it seems that they were two different issues, but I take that.
And again, the destructive testing would have been necessary if the effort was to put solar panels on.
Right, exactly.
And that was determined not to be the case.
Exactly, yeah, so I guess my confusion is that wasn't part of, or the way the report's written, it doesn't seem that that's part of the weight measure calculation. But the only other point that I want to make, because I've asked you too many questions, is in the safe zone report on page 16, under the section that says structural implications, the paragraph that really jumped out at me is the third one that says the current conditions represent a significant structural concern because failure of individual truss members can redistribute loads to neighboring trusses, accelerating the deterioration and increasing the likelihood of additional failures. And that just is a really kind of an alarming paragraph. And, I know that, I don't know, I just think that's concerning. That's really concerning with the building still being occupied.
Yeah, but you have to put the failure and the trusses were isolated to room 40 and 38. And it talks as well in the report about the lolly columns being added to strengthen those trusses in those two rooms. And that as long as those rooms aren't occupied, there's not a safety risk for the rest. It's not you're not gonna have contagious failure.
Where are you reading that part?
I think it's later. I don't remember, it's in there though, I remember reading that part about the.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
I think it's page 16, recommendations.
Well, on page 17, although the most severe damage was concentrated above room 40, the repetitive nature of the original truss system and widespread occurrence of similar connection details throughout the building indicate that comparable vulnerabilities may exist elsewhere within the original roof framing. Therefore, the condition observed should not be considered isolated to the failed area alone. I guess I'm really concerned that kids have been in the building, are still in the building, and it concerns me, and I just wanted to express that.
Well, I appreciate the concern, but I think the decision on the safety within that building was a widespread decision, not just ours, but of the engineers involved, and also the building inspector as well, determined to be able to keep kids safely in the building. The rooms that represented the greatest threats were room 40 and 38, and they were reinforced and then closed off to students. So there's not a safety concern being in that building.
Right.
If I could, to Paul, when these repairs get done, every room on that blue highlighted section here is getting
is getting reinforced.
Okay, so I have two quick questions. And like what Glenda just said, on page 16, it says, again, the snow isolating thing, I'm cool with that. However, it says here that because of that in that one area, even though you can't see damage, it could have spread out. And that's why I want to make sure that every room's getting done over.
Yep.
All right, and my second question is, if it's isolated snow and the wind is blowing all that crazy stuff, what do we have set up to melt the snow? Would it be a roof rakes? Because I was in Bridgewater when that whole thing collapsed and they had a whole new protocol. So what do we, if the snow builds up in that little alcove area in the back there, what do we do to stop it from building up in the future?
Yeah, so we do have a system that's, it's not fully installed yet, that will help melt the ice. But the number one thing is, quite frankly, from now on, we're gonna be up on the roof, clearing that roof. But when you say that, even with that, our after this reinforcement, and I don't have a number for you to, I don't have a final engineering number for it, but the snow load capacity is likely to substantially increase. So that, going forward, with the reinforcement of all these rooms, your snow load rate is expected to increase substantially. Now, I just don't have a number, I've been given a number, but it's not formal yet or approved with an engineering standard. But, so that's one of the goals.
Okay.
All right.
The other thing I was just gonna piggyback on is that, I mean, now that it's not the only old building in town, that we are responsible for, so maybe we need roof rakes for all of them. Because we certainly don't wanna repeat. Katrina.
So just to reiterate, Paul, I just wanna make sure I understand, Surfzone recommended that, there should be a verified, thorough, detailed engineering analysis done. And they gave 9 recommendations, starting on page 7, of what should be analyzed. And you're saying that Surfzone will do that analysis at the end of the month here.
Yeah, well.
Like everything that they outlined in the report will be done by then?
Well, what their next step right now, quite frankly, given the time frame, is to come up with the engineering solution for these rooms. So the purpose of this report is to set up a discussion with Maya to determine if they are paying for it or not. And if Maya wanted to go back and say, no, we don't want to pay for this because it was pre-existing non-conforming conditions, this could have been a potential avenue for them to do that. But the conclusions in this report that the snow event triggered this failure has led Maya to say, okay, we're gonna pay for all the classroom damage. And when you discover what the cause of any damage, or if there's damage in the administration wing, we'll determine then whether we pay for that as well. But the purpose of this report is essentially done in that they've now agreed that it's snow damage that has caused the roof to, that particular section of the roof to fail. And now we're on to the solution. Now we're on to the engineering solution.
Okay,
So
I'm sorry.
So I wouldn't look for 14 new engineering reports. It would be, Myers already paying for it.
No, I'm not, that's not the thrust of my question. I'm actually wondering, just wanting to make sure that these steps that were outlined here, which start with performing a comprehensive structural analysis of the trusses and the design, and end on the 9th one is the unbalanced snow load provisions of current building code analysis should evaluate dead load contribution of new roofing assembly and mainly support modifications and supplemental framing and load redistribution measures before concluding that the existing truss system remains adequate. So I hear what you're saying, and I just want to make sure that the steps they outlined.
And that's exactly what they're doing for the new solution, and designing the new solution. And remember, they have to put their engineering stamp on this as well. They are the ultimate authority in determining what that design and capacity of that design is.
Okay, and then my second question, Surf Zone stated, as with any visual investigation, concealed conditions may exist that were not observable during the site visit. So are they going to do another visit that will show concealed damages?
They will be on site from 10 o'clock onward on this Friday, and to, go through the building yet again. I will tell you that they had, when they were on site, we had a team of custodians, and myself included, and we were going through and removing all of the ceilings and so on, all the ceiling tiles, and going through every truss in the building. There's little in my mind that is concealed or difficult for them to
Okay. I asked that question because it was on the first page and it sounded a little bit like a liability waiver. Like, they may not see everything kind of thing, so I wanted to make sure that somebody would see everything. And then, sorry, next question was, are they going to be doing, in this process or at some point in the near future, going to be remedying the interior 1963 roof that goes into the library that's not tethered? Because you had described how that was like a seesaw and it contributed to the breakage with the snow load.
Yeah, they will be coming up with a design of the best way to suspend that older roof section, and if that needs changed.
Because it did sound like it needed something to keep it from moving. And then the last question, I don't really remember if this was in their report, but it was raised by a citizen concerned about earthquakes and wind events and other kinds of extreme weather events that might damage the roof. I know they're old buildings, but is there anything else that Surf Zone is taking into account other than snow load?
Well, they have a whole building code that they now have to adhere to that takes into account most all factors. Wind is definitely one.
Okay.
Snow load.
So it's not
is
just the
definitely-
load?
No.
Building code, okay.
So it's safe to say it'll be in better shape.
Then it was, yes.
Yeah, because we're getting stronger storms.
This will be a safer building than it was a year ago, or 2 years ago.
Or 63 years ago.
Thank you, Paul. It was great. And, it's really nice for us to be able to have the report, see all the details, see the photos, and really get started so soon. So actually, so thank you very much. Okay, moving on to update on expanded preschool.
All right, so thank you. We are going to get an update on early learning. And so my team here is coming down to join them, because I felt separated. So, thank you. All right, so we have given a few presentations on the early learning, and this is kind of an update. We'll cover everything from growth, current growth that we've experienced, some additions that we've covered, and looking to the next couple of years. So why preschool? I know that we've talked about this, and I think that everyone is on the page of why it is so important. But looking at the equitable experience for all students, looking at the equitable opportunities for all families, especially our families that may not, there it goes. Well, it's fine on mine. The opportunities for all families, especially when you think about families that may not be able to afford to send their students to pre-K. So making sure that we are equitable across all families and students that have that experience, and the experience for the students, entering kindergarten, it's important to have those couple of years before that. And then it's the real opportunities for inclusion for all students. And all of that anchors in the Clipper experience that we've been talking before. And as a reminder, we are a 3-year-old to 22-year-old school system. And so making sure that we are giving every experience for all of our students. Research indicates that the development of school readiness skills such as social emotional growth, cognitive and motor development, language and literacy skills, kindergarten readiness, curiosity and independence are the core of a preschool program. And then some of the research, indicating that there are decreased needs for intervention and or specialized programming by 3rd grade, greater reading proficiency in 3rd grade, and higher graduation rates with students that attend the preschool years. And I will turn it over to Paul.
So on this slide here, you see the enrollment projections for the district. And in focus here is the pre-K enrollment projections that NESDEC did. As you can see, the numbers have barely moved. And the reason for that is that they really can't make a prediction for pre-K. It's based on birth rates, predicting birth rates rather than existing birth rates. And so it's just sort of impossible to do. So you can see the number barely moves. However, our more recent experience, and Sandy will get into this, about growth in preschool numbers have been substantially different than the NESDEC predictions.
So on the next slide here, you'll see this table that indicates the growth that we've seen in preschool. I'm just gonna try to break it down a little bit. So we have the year in the top row, the student enrollment, so that's the October 1st data that's submitted to the Department of Education. Then the end of year data, that's the EOY. Then we have the number of classrooms in September, and then the number of classrooms in January. So if you look at the FY 24 row there, you see that we start off the school year in October, we have 118 students, and we end the year with 147. And we have 9 classrooms in September and 9 in January. So one of the reasons our numbers increase from September to January is that we have the rolling enrollment for our preschool students. So children who are receiving the early intervention services are referred to the school for an evaluation at age 2 years, 9 months. And then if the students are found eligible for an IEP, they would begin preschool on their 3rd birthday. A second reason for that change in FY24 is we also began to offer the full day options for preschool, which many families were very interested in. And this full day option not only helped the families, but also assisted the district in meeting the ratios that the DESI gave us the guidelines for the number of students who would be in a classroom who have an IEP and then their peer partners. So before offering the full day programs, we actually didn't have enough peer models in our afternoon classes because that wasn't a time where a lot of families wanted to send students to preschool. So that ended up, we had some issues with compliance with the Department of Education. So offering the full day really helped us meet those expectations. So now that you have kind of a better understanding of that table, you can see that the positive impact of offering the full day preschool. So this school year, if you drop down to the FY26, we started off the year with 134 students and ending the year with 173. So we've had quite an increase, you can see from the number of classrooms in FY24 with 9, and now we're up to 11 classrooms. This year we were able to offer not only the full day program, but also tuition free for all students. So again, that really increased our number of students who were enrolled. So as a result of the declining enrollment for the K-4 students at East Falmouth, we've been able to expand our program. So next year we expect that we'll start with 11 classrooms, and given the data that we have for our incoming students who will likely qualify, we'll end up opening a 12th classroom in January.
Okay, so just to build on what Sandy just shared, so in the steps that we've taken in the recent past is that we created the early learning community in the 23-24 school year, and that was with Bethany Gay leading through the Coalition with Children and all of our providers, so working closely together. We began the full day programs, and we supported our teachers. So DESE changed their licensure it was a, pre-K to 2 with or without disabilities, and then it became that you needed that moderate disabilities license, so it wasn't a with or without. So we were able to move over all of our pre-K teachers. They did everything they needed to do, so everyone has that licensure that's now required with DESE. We offered the free preschool in the FY25, and I think we made a mistake on this slide before because we got in the wrong box. We started the free in FY25, not FY26, so just correct that, sorry about that mistake. Continue to increase the full day programs because that is what most parents are asking for. We still have some half days because there are some parents that also want half days. So offering options for our parents are really important. And then in the 24-25 school year, so this is finishing our second school year, we have a dedicated preschool special education building administrator. So the SEBA is we have for just the pre-K. And as we're growing, that's extremely important.
So as we continue to grow the program, we've looked more closely at our curriculum, and this year our preschool teachers and a couple of our kindergarten teachers participated in a curriculum review committee. The curriculum selection process was modeled after the HQIM, High Quality Instructional Material Selection process, that we also used when we adopted the math program for K to 8 and the most recently adopted EL education program for K to 6. And our teachers unanimously chose the Tools of the Mind curriculum that will be implemented for the 26-27 school year. And we will also have 3 years of professional development associated with the implementation, as well as some coaching for that curriculum. So for increasing the IEP for the peer ratio, so in order to meet the Department of Education requirements, we typically have 15 students in a classroom. That's the upper end that we're allowed to have, so you can have no more than 7 students who have IEPs and then 8 peer models. But as we grow our preschool programs, and we have more and more peers who are wanting to enroll, and we're able to increase the classrooms, you can actually decrease that ratio so that we could have maybe 5 students who have IEPs and 10 peer models. This inclusion model moves us more closely to what we're offering at the elementary level, with less than 50% of the students in a general education setting with an IEP. And then one of the positives to think about is that fewer students with the IEPs can allow the teachers to more effectively track progress and implement the individual learning plans for students.
So when we think about the work that's in progress, we look at opportunities that we can continue whether we're in one location or not. And so part of that is talking about the continued growth in our pre-K program, but also the internal pipeline that we create for Falmouth High School's early education and care internships, and the opportunity for students to move beyond the high school program and continue into our elementary schools through pre-K. Offering choice for our Falmouth Public School staff, the choice to be with us for early learning, future opportunities for before and after care, and also thinking about that extending into year-round support and care, and then opportunities for partner activities with older students to keep enriching the experience and show those connections.
So if we have those additional opportunities, if preschool was offered as a standalone early learning center, all preschool staff would be located in one building, which would allow for greater flexibility. Currently, we have 2 specialized programs in preschool for students with high needs. So when all of our students are located in one location, it provides us with that flexibility to move students in and out of a specialized program and not have to ask them to move to another school building. Obviously, having all staff in one building allows for more opportunities for collaboration across sections. So, we have this great opportunity with 10 sections. If we split up into multiple buildings, you might have a school that only has, 2 classrooms. From a leadership standpoint, Having our special education building administrator in one location obviously provides the most effective leadership and coaching model, especially as we implement our new curriculum. Right now, we do have dedicated staff for our related services. So if we did split up the location into multiple settings, some staff may have to travel, or the caseloads for the K-4 related service people at the other buildings would include the preschool students. There are also other benefits of the early learning center, which could include having the programs like the Coalition for Children at that setting. Talked about some wraparound services before and after school, community health care, the Welcome Center could be located there, could be a space for central office staff possibly, and a possible future opportunity to partner with the town to offer care for the birth to 3-year-olds.
So in these considerations, one of the things that we spent time focusing on is why Falmouth High School is not a viable option. And one of the reasons largely focuses on the facility itself. The way that the preschool program at the high school is designed was designed to be a lab school. So there's an observation space, there's dedicated resources, and it's really isolated to the space that it's in. And it was set up for a very small number of preschool students, so our students could be student teachers before they move on to their internship opportunities. So in that lab school setting, it's self-contained, and it's also, the limited number is also tied to a limited schedule based on our high school students' schedule, as they largely serve as the teaching support. The other part is the impracticability of having between 150 and 180 early learning students in a high school setting, because it fundamentally changes the purpose of high school. Creates 2 independent schools within one facility, and then the sharing of those logistical components. And then requiring major renovation on the facility side, separating out portions of school, also separating out bathroom facilities, cafeteria facilities, classrooms, conference space, all of the things that would come along with that school setting. Also needing to reroute and reconsider traffic, and then the playground space and equipment. And then the second part of that is the funding, so requiring engineering and architectural design, everything that comes with that, and then further financial requests from the town to support that when we know that we have space also within our elementary schools to support continued growth.
So if high school is not an option, we have plenty of options. And I'd like to identify a couple of options that we can do. And one might be a 2-location learning center. And what's really good is that our current elementary schools have some benefits on each one, so I'll go through each one alphabetically. First one is East Falmouth Schools. This right now is where it is, so there's having it there builds stability and continuity. It is the current and proven location. As we saw the growth that was already talked about, it is people are coming to East Falmouth. Mullen Hall acts as a advantageous second option site because it's on the other side of town, so that works for some people that may want to bring their students there. Mullen also has a designated entrance in the ground level, so that's really good for the pre-K kids. It's already the current location of the Coalition for Children, so that would be a really good setting for that. North Falmouth has 2 key specialized services right now to help students, so they're already prepared. That would be beneficial for preschool students. Currently, the students have access to the TIP program, which is the Therapeutic Intervention Program, as well as the TLC, which is a learning center for highly individualized academic instructions for diverse learning and developmental needs. So that would be, they have some advantages there. And finally, Teaticket is a convenient location to serve staff and student needs. It does have one key specialized service, which is the TIP program. So we've got a lot of good options here, especially for two locations for center. But as we go to the next part, which is we have to look at some consideration. Yeah, so we have to look each one. There might be some additional considerations when we look at each one. We're thinking about having the early learning center at these locations. So alphabetically again, here's some additional concerns, considerations. So East Falmouth is the current spot, so it's gonna be a smooth transition to keep it there for any operational downtime or relocation costs. This would be, and it has already proven that it is a proven track record. So they've experienced consistent growth in enrollment, and so it's successfully pooled families evenly throughout the district, so their geographic location fits for them. The Mullins School has some issues that's due to their size. The scale of the facility is way too large for the enrollment numbers that we have. Expanding to 3 floors, a building requires navigating multiple stairwells, and there might be some mobility risk for kids. Finally, the size will create evacuation complications for the 3 and 4-year-olds, so it's probably not the best part for the size of the building. North Falmouth is geographically isolated. The location is, to the north, and the site would be subject to younger learners having inappropriate long daily bus rides. It's also away from family workplace centers, so you're gonna have some logistic hurdles dealing with drop-offs and afternoon pickups, so that causes that problem. Teaticket is centrally located, positioned. Therefore, the location guarantees equitable balance, reduced travel times for the early learning families across the district. And so, those are some of the considerations we can consider.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the cost of the preschool, and this is really the cost of the general expansion that we've been going through, adding 1 or 2 classrooms per year over the last couple of years. So just give you a frame, the most expensive component of adding a classroom is obviously the teaching staff and the support staff, the TAs and so on. And you can, on a rough ballpark number, you can think of adding a new pre-K classroom would be around $110,000. Adding supplies and furniture would be probably adding in $130,000 in total to get that classroom set up. And that is something that we've been dealing within the budget every year as this pre-K classrooms have increased in numbers. So the head counts and so on are fully baked into our budget every single year as part of our staffing head count analysis and so on. So this is not something that's outside of the budget. And if you think about pre-K, if you wanted to sort of were to ask me, what does pre-K cost the district overall? And remembering that it's a mandated program that we have to provide pre-K, especially for any student that has a special need. So we're obligated as a public school to provide that. But our total pre-K cost would likely be just under $1.6 million. And think of that in context of the $61 million budget. So it's not $1.6 million at 10 classrooms today. It's not a huge component of our $61 million budget. So as I mentioned, in terms of facilities, I mentioned East Falmouth is actually, ideally set up for pre-K. And the classroom makeup, how the rooms that are currently used for pre-K are set up with the sinks in the rooms and the bathroom adjacent to the classrooms, etc. One of the things we did add, and it was for East Falmouth, was cafeteria tables. If you've seen them, if you think about K through 4 cafeteria table, you think that's going to be small, but the pre-kindergarten ones are really adorable. Just because it's like size of, and they weren't that expensive at my point. We did it quickly, when Rose came in as principal of the school. And that, a lot of that is covered under the 262 grant. It's one of the federal grants that we utilize to help support pre-K classrooms. Henry had mentioned that transportation considerations, keeping it at one school like East Falmouth is ideal. If you start to split it up, it does have an impact on your busing cost. But I will say that, the busing for pre-K is really for the special needs students. The parents drop off the their groups. Students, so, unless you're spreading it out across 4 schools, then if you start to spread it out substantially, you're really gonna increase your costs. But if you keep it localized to one school like we have now at East Falmouth, we're in good shape.
So, we believe that there's a cost to not offering preschool to all families, whether public or private. Again, we back to our why of our students is just to highlight a couple things here. It is that school readiness for kindergarten, making sure it's equitable opportunities for everyone so that everyone is ready for kindergarten, and it's those successes that you'll see later in the school career based on being able to have those pre-K opportunities. And where we are now, it's, we still have room to grow. I don't think this is a today issue. The staff is very happy. We're continuing to grow, so obviously families are very happy to come to East and to, so that the distance of any concern is just not playing out. And we have room in East to grow over the next couple of years, and I don't know that it's really a today issue that we need to do anything else. We also do believe as a group that moving into a second school, we have lots of options. There's a lot of advantage to any school, any other elementary school to actually grow as well if we get to that point. But we'd like to grow in place for now, and we're able to offer everything that we would. Some of those other pieces means that we'll stay here, and which is fine. We love it here, and the town has no idea of what to do with this building, at this time. So that's not really an option. We'll continue to try to figure out opportunities for the collaboration with Coalition for Children. So some of those additional things that if you're in one building, you could grow. We'll try to find ways to make connections with that for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the update. It's been a bit since we started talking about this, so it's nice to bring it back around. You ready, Mike?
Thank you kindly. I have a couple questions. First, centralized location Teaticket. We don't have like a heat map of where the students are coming from. And East Falmouth seems to be working out. My son went there, but the centralized location, like geographically, Teaticket might be centralized, but I'm more. My assumption is that like West Falmouth has less young families than other places. Just a heat map to say, oh, this is where the kids are, I don't know if we have one, but that would be beneficial at some point in time. Then my other question is, find it, I've got a dog here. Okay, this is coming your way, Sandy.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so I understand the numbers, that's all good.
Yep.
Actually, I'm gonna give you a second. Paul, question for you.
Yep.
If this is free, how do we get paid for this? This comes out of our budget, we don't get any reimbursement from the state?
No, they have some money that comes into grants, the 262 money that we.
But overall, we're covering the free, okay. All right, Sandy, ready for this? Is it good? 134 becomes this is on page, I'm sorry, folks, the enrollment, I think it's page 4. 134 becomes 173. That makes sense to me. So the two-part question. Where are these kids coming from and where are they going? Because, like, do we have 173 Falmouth students right now in the preschool? Are they from other places? And then the students that are from Falmouth, why don't our other numbers match up? So I guess the question is, yeah.
I'll answer.
All right.
Can you tell us what your
So
number,
I think-
can you just, if you're looking at it, but what number were you
Yes.
saying? Oh, that one,
The
on the
growth.
bottom, gotcha,
So I
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think the confusion, yes, they are the Falmouth students, but it's not, the cohort of students are 3, 4, and actually 5-year-olds.
yeah,
Because if you have a birthday starting in September, then you're still going to preschool for that year.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at that entire number, it's not like that's not your group that's going to kindergarten the
Yeah.
following year, because
Yeah.
that includes students who are gonna remain in preschool. So does that kind of answer your question?
kind of. Are these all Falmouth kids or are they from other places too?
No, they're Falmouth.
They're Falmouth, except that we do offer for our staff members, so if they have children.
Okay.
Yeah, so other than that, it would be.
Okay, and then do we have a retention rate from preschool or kindergarten? Like, are we seeing students going to the free preschool and then come kindergarten, like, are we losing 5%, 10%, or is it
No,
pretty
I
even?
don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I think our retention rate is extremely high.
From our program in the kindergarten.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're losing anybody. What we don't know is all the other children out there that, what would predict kindergarten, so from all the private settings.
Yes, I
I
got
mean, we can't predict.
Yeah.
Predict those numbers, we don't have them.
Yes, all right, thank you.
So, still on this
Yeah,
page. So Sandy, can you, how does the enrollment projection, which looks like it's in the like 117, 118, how does that square, and which I know Paul said that's hard to predict, but how should we use that? How should we use this data?
I think we were trying, I'm sorry, I just wanted to, we were trying to illustrate that NESDAQ nor any other company will, that we're finding with MSBA, they will not predict pre-K. So when they did the report, they used that October 1 data of 114, and they just kind of put, you gotta go from birth rate to kindergarten. They put pre-K there, but they will not do predictions on pre-K.
Okay, so, and I don't know if I heard you correctly, you were saying East Falmouth we're good for now. So does that mean that, we're thinking that every child who needs pre-K is, that we can't possibly be saying that, right?
No, we're not, I don't think that we're trying to say universal pre-K for all is gonna come to Falmouth Public Schools. So it's not a universal program that we're mandating all 3 and 4 year olds.
No, not mandating, but I'm just wondering, you said we're good for now, but if we were to expand,
So
yeah,
we're saying that we, and what we have predicted is that we can keep growing 1 classroom a year. We know that we're gonna add a classroom next year, and that we can probably add another classroom the following year and maybe the next year, right? If we're growing by a classroom each year, we know that the next couple of years we can stay that. No, we can continue to stay there because we know the enrollment of K to 4, and we know the space in that building. If we're growing by a class a year, which means we're bringing in, like we have 12 students on a wait list right now. So we know that, there are families that still want, but we're only gonna grow to 1 classroom. We may be able to, when we open up the classroom in January, we will bring in some of the peers. But if we stay on our track of 1 classroom a year, we know that we can stay at East Falmouth for a couple more years.
so I'm just trying to understand, so if in a perfect world, if you had, do you feel that the demand, we are meeting the demand, or we are not meeting the demand that is currently you're currently
I
seeing?
mean, it's, hard to say, but I'd like to take the 12 other students in, yes. We've built into a budget, trying to be fiscally responsible and to grow, is that we would add a classroom a year. So, if we could add 2 classes next year, then we could bring in those other 12. So it's
So
kind of
as
a
I'm
balancing.
wondering, because we talked about this before, so I'm wondering if we're at the point now where we don't really have a pressing need that we need to solve.
I would agree with you.
Okay, so if
Yeah, I
that's
would
the
agree. We do
case,
not need,
then-
it's not pressing right now.
okay, then that's helpful in terms of us deciding our priorities as a committee. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
I'm glad to hear in regards to this has worked in regards to increasing the preschool, and now we are at those ratios for IEPs and general classroom peers. My concern is, what about that decreasing enrollment at East Falmouth, and what are we gonna do for those classrooms and those teachers?
Yeah, it is an ongoing concern. We are, we're down to basically 2 sections in the whole grade. Again, next year, the kindergarten will be in their low numbers. 2 sections, we have one grade level that's at, gonna be 3 sections, and they'll continue through the next 2 years. And otherwise, it's really looking as a 2 section. That is the flip side of all this.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives us room to grow at East, but it also,
It doesn't give the equal opportunities to the kids in those classrooms in regards to when there's no choices.
Yeah, it cuts both ways, because now there's
Yeah, it
room, but
does.
it's at the cost of less sections. Fewer sections. Anything on this side? Katrina?
Sorry, compiling a little list. I saw in one of the bullet points, birth to 3-year town partnership, that was new to me. Can you elaborate?
The town, and they just recently talked about it again several months ago. They have it on their agenda item, that they talk about trying to figure out how to offer opportunities for families for birth to 3, whether they would use a voucher system or whatever, because, childcare is expensive. And if we want to, it's an idea on the list is affordable housing, how do we, offer opportunities for families? So we're in the business from 3 to 22, right? And the town is trying to figure out, if we work together, if we had a center that was one center and we could work together, we know how to manage, right? And we have that partnership with Coalition for Children, that we are confident that we could offer that birth to 3. It would be an opportunity for the town, let's work together to try to solve the issues that we have in this town. And, certainly $1,800 a month for childcare could go into housing, which would help, keep young families here.
Mhm.
So it's nothing concrete, nothing it's a wish. And I don't know when that might happen, but one, we would have to get to a place where we have the space for it. And then, again, I'm confident that if this is something that the town wants to move forward with, that we can manage.
Okay, thank you. So when I was asking around for people's thoughts about this conversation, people at Teaticket had concerns about the TIP program. And incoming kindergarten kids for next year, there's going to be an increase in the TIP program is what I was told. And concerns about having space in that building. So I guess these questions are more, your presentation had more to do with choosing a central location rather than choosing a second location. Is that correct?
No, I would say just the opposite.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that, I thought it was gonna be about choosing a second location. And then the slide where you were talking about Mullen Hall having too many stairs and being too large sounded like it was for a central location rather than a secondary.
True, we did both, right? We're trying to put everything on the table because we have 2 new school committee members.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to try to bring them up to speed
Oh, okay,
about
gotcha.
all the options.
All right,
And so, yes, we were trying to offer
Okay.
lots of information.
Okay, it wasn't much information. So yeah, the Teaticket people were concerned about having space for the TIP program and whether it would be equitable distribution if they have pre-K in their building and then during the Lawrence renovation, they might potentially have 5th grade in their building. Is that going to be distributed? I'm just saying these things out loud for you. They're not exactly questions unless you have answers about that. It's
Well, I wonder, we opened, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about, we opened up a second TIP program at North. Not because there wasn't space at Teaticket, but because the number of TIP students, and we do everything we can to integrate the students into the classroom as much as we can, and there's just not a lot of sections of the students with, that would be their peers to be able to integrate in. So to make a nice balance, and I don't know if you want to offer, we made that decision to go to a second building.
And can you remind me and people what TIP stands for?
Therapeutic intervention program.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want to add something else to that.
No,
that was the
this year,
concern.
yes.
That was the concern.
Right, because when we have our declining enrollment and we're not sure if we're gonna have 2 sections of kindergarten or 3, we look at our special ed numbers, and it might be the students who require something like the therapeutic intervention program or other students with an IEP. We, as I had mentioned before, we have guidelines that the Department of Education has. We cannot have more than 50% of the students in a classroom with an IEP. So kindergarten's always that really hard year to predict because we don't know how many students are coming in and,
Right,
so.
who's gonna need that halfway through the year.
Right.
The high school lab preschool, while you were speaking, I just was suddenly curious, how do you keep that small little lab program in compliance with these peer ratios? Since it's a secondary location, do you have to move kids around in and out?
It's good that we can all answer the questions, right?
It's for peers only, so it's not designed for specialized services, and it's actually under CTE vocational chapter 74. So it falls under the same type of program requirements that MCT would have.
Okay, thank you. What is the specialized programming at North Falmouth that you were referring to? If you had, would that be like a TIP program for pre-K?
Yes.
So when you're saying maybe you start a specialized program, okay.
They already have 2 specialized programs at North Falmouth.
Okay, and so if it was a TIP program, would it not make sense to put a specialized pre-K for that at Teaticket as well?
There are students that are attending Teaticket and North Falmouth that require a specialized program.
I mean, for
in
pre-K,
kindergarten.
the bullet list was about, like, the
pre-K.
potential for doing this, but it was cited for North Falmouth rather than.
No, both. It was on both
okay.
schools.
Okay, I missed that.
As an advantage.
Okay, thank you. And then, so hearing that we are not actually rushing on this and that we have a few years to make these decisions, why were we rushing in 2024? Was it just like an exciting idea that we were putting forward, or did something change in our needs in the last 2 years?
I think that if, in 2024, if we had moved forward with that at the time, I think it would have been the right decision. Like the next year, we would have been starting with kindergarten, we would have slowly been growing. Since then, what really has taken off is, which is extremely positive, is the renovation of Lawrence School. And I think we have to balance the decisions that we're making and that we can support. And right now, we've made the decision to move forward with Lawrence, and it seems to be well received in this community. And I think staying with that positive right now and putting the focus and the energy there, I think that's the difference from before when we presented, right? And when we presented everything, it would have been multiple timelines out, right?
Yeah.
If we'd started.
Okay.
And now we're into the Lawrence School project, and now, so if we'd done it before, it would have been prior to, and we would have started, been settled, been working on that, and then we would have been moving into the next. And now it's just because of all the timelines. And I feel like our time and energy would be best served if we concentrated on the Lawrence School.
And our last question. The 5th grade, for the Lawrence School renovation, the 5th grade will have to move down during that, and 8th grade will have to move up. And I'm just wondering for East Falmouth, and if you have, I mean, that's years down the road, what is that, 2030, what did we say?
2030.
2030 is 2030, so that's, you're gonna be having maybe to move out of East Falmouth between now and then for the pre-K program, if you only have a couple of years.
We might anyway, right?
Right.
We might be growing anyway.
It's far enough in the future that you might have more than one location, or something might have changed, but I guess my question is there going to be any problem with having 5th grade in a building that has pre-K through 5th? For any of the buildings?
No, I mean, I don't see any reason why there would be.
Okay.
There's a lot of, I mean, districts have schools that have pre-K to 8 in one building.
Oh, do you mean in space?
In space, well, I'm thinking about the
Oh, I
NESDEC.
thought you meant the
No, I'm thinking about the
span.
NESDEC enrollment data
Yeah.
and looking at, like, Teaticket is projected to stay pretty stable. Mullenhall and North are declining, East, as we know, is having a declining issue. So from that perspective, some of those schools are gonna have more space for 5th grade. And if you have pre-K in a school that doesn't have space already, you might have a problem, that's what I'm asking.
So we need to keep watching numbers because we're 4 years out, so we've got lots of time to like look at that, right? But I think what Henry was saying on if we go to a second site, we have lots of options, right? And we'll continue, NESDEC will continue annually to give us our projected enrollments, and we'll continue to monitor and watch that, and then we'll be able to have a better prediction and a recommendation.
Okay. Yeah. And when does the NESDEC report come out?
Every fall, in November, December.
All right, thank you.
Jamie and then
Okay, I'm sorry. So, Dr. thank you for this presentation, because even after reading the reports, I had a lot of questions, so, and I actually felt like I knew more before we started talking, so just forgive me if I can't remember something. So currently, are all the pre-K classrooms half-day or full-day?
They're mostly full day.
Mostly full.
Yes, we have a section of AM, PM, but the rest are full day programs.
Okay, so is the plan to keep a split day? So I guess
We
what I'm
still
asking
want that
is-
to be an option, yes,
Oh,
because
so
we
we'll
have,
still maintain that?
we still maintain that.
Okay.
There are families that ask for that.
Right, no, I know,
And it's a good option too for.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the
3-year-olds.
cost of staffing, because one teacher can cover AM and PM.
Correct.
But if we were gonna move to all full day, then it would be an additional teacher besides the teacher for the additional classroom. Correct?
Right, so right now, we mostly have full day, sections. And
So then all the related services that are, there wouldn't be a need for an additional unless we reach the threshold for the additional classrooms for their service time. I'm trying to think beyond beyond the classroom teacher, like
yes.
there's.
Well, and that's kind of evening out too when you have declining enrollment overall, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, so
So like with
through
related
attrition.
service, right?
Right.
Of our other enrollment, so what we do at the end of every year is we look at caseloads across the district for the related service people and then kind of figure out where everybody needs to be located.
Okay. And then all your figures include, the cost of furniture, like small cafeteria tables and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the 120 figure is essentially a teacher and 1.5 TAs. When you add the total cost, it's probably around $1 million total.
Okay, it's good to know it's one club. I have concerns that we have a lot more half-day that we're gonna go full-time, and then we need a lot more staff. So, all right, thank you.
All right, I think that's.
Well, I also wanted to follow up on Susan's question in terms of the older students who are at East Falmouth, and as you're thinking about ways to support them, are there any thoughts about the difficulty with having only two classes?
I think actually, I don't wanna shut down the conversation, but I think that's a whole conversation. And maybe we can, let's stick to pre-K, and maybe we can bring that back for like our next, where to go next.
That might have more to do with redrawing attendance lines.
It might, which is why I don't wanna get into like this giant off-topic thing. So, I think it's worthy of actual discussion.
Any last
That's
things?
why I brought it up. I just wanted to kind of put a bow, a pin in this, or whatever metaphor you use. So I just wanna, my bottom line is, because I really support a pre-K program. Are we meeting the needs of the community? And because I'm hearing the time, we're not pursuing it because of the time and energy for the Lawrence School, valid, but are we meeting the needs? If yes, then we need to clear this from our plate. If no, then I would like to continue pursuing this. So I'm still not clear on, are we meeting the community's needs? So could you just definitively?
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree. I think the Early Learning Center itself is the gold star, right? I mean, because, there's a lot more we can do within one program, and our pre-K staff will tell you that. I don't know if we're meeting every student. I think, the word continues to get out there. We're growing in our, within a number of students. We have 12 on the waiting list. Would I like to open up 2 classrooms this year? Yes, but, we also built in the budget for 1 a year. And we can't go, we can't expand beyond, what the budget's gonna allow. So I don't know that issue would be any different if we moved to, because there's no real cost to moving to a pre-K center, like one building standalone. Because all the staff, all the furniture, all the equipment, everything goes to that, right? So there's really no startup cost to go there. And then I don't know that we could grow any faster than what we're growing right now. So, if over the next couple of years, if our wait list stays the same, if it kind of goes down as we're adding each classroom, I don't know, I'm thinking we'll have a better prediction when we meet that threshold, are we meeting the needs? We're not trying to take all the kids out of the private settings. We have, high quality settings here in the district, and we have families who are gonna choose those. So, and I only, mention because the universal, because a lot of people do talk about that, right? Should public schools have universal for 3 and 4-year-olds, or more they talk about is the 4-year-olds, but not many have gone to requiring that, right? So it's just, we can't predict how many kids are out there. It's a very hard answer to give you, except that we will continue to monitor. And certainly, I'm not suggesting, whether you repurpose a building for an early learning center, that's to the school committee. I'm not trying to deter you from that. I'm telling you that what we've been able to do over the last 2 school years since we brought this up, is we concerted efforts, and we've been able to grow, we've been able to offer more services, and we're back in compliance. We're meeting a lot of the needs. And I think within the program, certainly having the new curriculum come on board, certainly being able to balance those ratios more, I think we're doing a real service for our students and families.
Thank you.
So do we need to formalize this in any way?
Yeah, well, I think you probably should. I think it would be great for the community to know what's going on. So I don't know that we're gonna get that done tonight. Maybe we could bring it back at our next meeting and have some semblance of what we wanna agree upon, so that the community knows. Does that work?
Can I just ask one quick one for Lori?
Quick one, and we're moving on.
Relating to what Linda said, do you have any sense of when, if we don't, as a committee, decide to open a central location, standalone, at what point would you think of opening a 2? Because I know that the staff would prefer to stay in one place, but at a certain point you have to move, and so maybe that would help us to know what the next step would be if we, if we're taking this off our agenda, and when that would happen.
We feel comfortable that we can stay for 2 more years, grow in place for 2 more years.
And then
2 more classrooms.
And then 2 years from now, the committee and yourself would have to decide where the second location would be, or start this conversation again.
Year before that.
Or not 2 years from now, but.
Well, it's really that, I would be happy to us collaboratively decide that, right? It's, It's
whatever
the
the
school
process
committee, well, I know, it's the school committee's decision really because they're gonna repurpose a building.
Yeah.
So over my tenure here, when I first came, preschool was at Teaticket. And then we moved partial programs, the TIP programs were growing, and we added, there was only 2 classes at that time, we were going up to 3 and then 4. So I moved part of the preschool over to East Falmouth. And then as the staff continued to talk and we were growing, they really convinced us that they all need to be together. So then we moved all of the preschool to East. You know, so opening programs that exist or moving them across the district, like, we'll continue to evaluate and continue to grow.
Okay.
It really becomes, do you want a centralized location, repurpose one of our buildings for that? And I think that's where that decision.
I guess what I'm asking is relating to Glenda's question, and Kelly, thinking of bringing it back at our next meeting, are you saying that we have perhaps a year and some change to, then at that point, we would have to bring this conversation back to talk about whether we're doing central location?
If I heard Glenda and Kelly correctly, and don't want to speak for you, but let me give it a try, is that by making a decision and saying, we'll pick this up again in a year or 2 years, that you're letting the community know that we're going to grow in place, we're gonna stay the course, and we'll revisit it. I think that's what I heard them say. If you formalize that, that helps the community know where we stand.
Thank you, that's helpful, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was thinking. Glenda stepped in, but that's what I was thinking. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great info.
Pick up the next one.
All right, come on back. Next up is discussion on the strategic plan contract, and the outline that was in our packet.
So Henry and I are gonna present the strategic plan. So here's, we've talked about a strategic plan before. And so now I have an actual contract for Teaching Learning Alliance. And this is the recommendation for myself, my team, that we have, this is the company that we would like to go with, and we're going to share why. So if we can look a little bit to start with, certain pages. And so if you focus in on pages 7, 8, and then we'll start there, and Henry's gonna kind of go through the process of the strategic plan. And we're just gonna kind of walk through a little bit and talk about, and then we're gonna talk about like what, after you understand this, why in comparison to some other vendors, why we think this is the best. So if you'll start with.
Before, are we not gonna show?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Thank you,
I
Henry.
want the visual, sorry.
Thank you.
I definitely wanna see the visual, that really got me to get involved in
Thank
this.
you, I'm glad you were like, just take this, we do this, and my visual is right here.
This is Canton School.
This is Canton School, and I just gotta get it up on the screen. I think, yeah, if you see like their end product, no, that's not the visual. Okay, hopefully this works. Okay, I don't understand Ryan's. Ryan, I'm sorry, I need your help, I'm so sorry, slow us down here.
Maybe we should all stand up.
Yes, everybody, stretch break.
Take advantage. Oh. I mean, yes, that was my first
Yeah,
thought.
thank you. Okay.
Yes, there it is.
Okay, so, when you say to go, sorry about that.
No, we're still going.
Okay.
People are stepping out as needed, and we're gonna keep moving.
Okay, so as Henry mentioned, we did talk about this, I'm sorry, the third presentation tonight. Showing you an example of their strategic plan, I think would help ground us in like what we're talking about. So this is Canton, and you can see this the Arches of Canton is shown here.
The viaduct.
The viaduct, thank you. I was gonna look
Oh,
at you
easy.
because why does Sandy
Don't-
know? Why does Sandy know?
She left me.
I went to Canton High School.
You-
We didn't have a website then, but I lived near the viaduct.
But this would be, it would be tailored for Falmouth Public Schools, and we would have a say in how, this goes. But anyway, so here's their. We don't have a viaduct, we will not have that on ours. So, this is a 5-year, and they recommend a 5-year. They give you the contents, there's, the dear community from the superintendent, who was on the committee plan, so Henry's gonna talk about this a little bit, about how this all works. Some lovely pictures. And then just a summary of the strategic planning process and the phases. There are 3 phases. And then their mission and vision statement. Okay, just picture maroon and white and our own values and all this other, and theory of action. We have lovely pictures just like this one.
The sky's always blue and sunny.
It is. And then, so the priorities and strategies, right? There are 4 in Canton. So priority 1, and then they start talking about the strategic objective, the focus and the rationale. And then we have the action steps, who's gonna be the point person on leading it, and then the proposed indicators of success. So how will we know that we get there? So that continues, there's one that's out now, we're at 2, but it just flows. I'm gonna move through a little bit quickly because Henry's gonna talk to us about this. Flows through, and then just the overall graphic of the strategic plan, and then the ending. So this is an example. They have lots of examples. They've been in many districts on the Cape and off the Cape. So I'm gonna let go of this unless you have any questions about this. This was just to kind of ground us in what that might look like, and then I'll turn it over to Henry.
I like starting with the end result because I think it is user friendly, it's something that we can get shape. And so I was really excited when we were talking about this. I was like, oh, let's do something, we can really showcase our school. So that was my entry point there. So if you are looking at page 7 in the proposal, this is a comprehensive multi-year framework, planning framework, that's guided by DESI. DESI has a great framework which says it's a research, planning, database, and I think this fits it. And we're gonna be doing some research, we're gonna do this database, decide what is best for our school. Dr. Gould has worked with our system before, but she's gonna be the program consultant if you accept this. But not only that, they'll have a partnership program management that works at every meeting, at every any kind of analysis. They're there to come and help us, definitely making that end result. So that management portion of it is very important. So what they say, there's a couple of phases. Phase 1 is that research part that DESI wants us. So right away, they have a step that we come together, build a timeline, decide what is our planning meeting, so that it's between staff, students, parents, committee members, community representatives. So right away, we're gonna have a chance to to create this strategic planning committee, and then you start formulating, gathering data. What kind of data we have? We have plenty of data that might be internal or external achievement data. Then we start looking at focus groups to come in and help us, and actually surveys. So all these things become our data point to do our research. And so that's phase 1, you're having a research. Now, this management team is going to help us with the analysis of data, they'll help us with the surveys, they'll help us with that whole aspect. But that's the first phase 1, so collection of your data. Then phase 2 comes into, okay, now we're shaping. And phase 2, we're talking about the strategic planning committee comes together and and really starts, for a couple meetings, starts to establish this plan. First meeting will be like building norms, strategy plan, mission statement, codes, and that kind of stuff. Meeting number 2 would be looking at the data that we collected from whether it's the surveys or the focus groups, so that's gonna be in there. Meeting 3 is really trying to define the mission statement and common themes. And then we start getting into just the administration team. So when you're doing at the end point, we start, okay, what's our pillars, what's our strategies, what are some of final initiatives that you want, what are some other matrix that you want to have that established overarching district vision. And then by meeting 6, you're really now having a final review of a working draft to say, this is our theory of action, this is now something that we plan out. And then at that time, they will come in and make a presentation, all 6 meetings that it has there. So they'll come over here and say, all right, this is what we're doing. And with that presentation will be a designing of that deliverable, the dashboard deliverable that is in there. So they'll make sure to help plan out, layout and design provided, and that's all part of there. So that's gonna be the capstone plan of making that, the plan for 5 years. And so, I'm trying to think of.
Well, let me
Sure.
jump in. If you go to page 10 and 11, it breaks it out a little bit shorter, just so you can see. So you can see in phase 1 where it has the focus by forms, it'll be focus groups, there'll be the survey data that all happens, and you see the related costs there, and then you can see the related costs to the strategic meetings that Henry just talked about. If you look down at the bottom, you know, the planning time between meetings to review and analyze the data, collaborative with the district leadership to coordinate each step of the strategic planning process, develop draft content for each meeting, and to develop the strategic plan. So yes, the overall cost, we feel like it's comprehensive and it meets our needs, and that over cost is at $20,000. Before I turn it back over to Henry here to talk a little bit about, we interviewed 3 different companies. So this was obviously one of them, and because they are in so many districts across the Cape and the Massachusetts, that and they follow the DESI framework, as Henry just said. You know, we definitely looked at this company. We also looked at another independent that we did not feel was going to meet our needs, and then we also there was another company that was in one district, and we interviewed them, and I'm gonna turn it over to Henry to talk about, like, what are those differences and why do we feel like we're in the sweet spot with TLA?
Yeah, so yeah, we talked to each of these companies, and the first company was really budget friendly. It was $8,000, and so we were like, oh my goodness, this is good. And then they also did the DESI plan framework, which is called Plan for Success. That getting data to make sure that we're understanding ourselves. So that was in there. So and they have a 5-year outlook. The issue that they had was at their core plan, it is independent. It's 1 or 2 people. They had a daytime only kind of a mentality for any kind of workshops. They did not have surveys. They didn't have focus groups. Those are big for me. You know, those are actually, I want more data than just getting the internal achievement. So that's huge. They did not have digital dashboard. They'll say, you can do it, but we're not gonna help. And so that was unfortunate. And they, you know, so we felt like this is a narrow scope. We needed something a lot bigger to help us really get to the strategic plan. The other side was the other group, which was based in Texas. Now, when we take in Texas, are they doing DESI stuff? No, they have their own little proprietary design of thinking, so they have their own. Their cost was $51,000. So they do everything that I mentioned before, which is the 5-year plan, the workshops, the definitely surveys, they definitely have focus group there, their digital dashboard is interactive. So when you talk about interactive, you're talking about software, so you're going to, they say, well, you get, in this plan, you'll get the 1 year for 50, but, you know, if we wanted to go for 5, you know, there's gonna be more payment for the software. So because it wasn't local, there was one school that went there, and I know it's a big school near Boston, I won't say it is, but it's a big school near Boston. I think they can do it, but this last one was a very heavy emphasis on software, tools, visual, the visual, I can't say, they had, you know, it was flashy. I felt, sorry, it's not the word I wanna use it, but we felt like.
Let's not put that in the paper.
It's not on paper. Deliverables, there it goes. But we felt that this one has all that we need, plus the really user-friendly kind of display. And so it was comprehensive for us, and I love the deep community input. I'm excited about that. That's definitely my go-to. So I think that's gonna be a good aspect. And so with that, and they've already said, you know, they're gonna honor the that cost, and it's all inclusive. And so I think we would be good to go for that.
Questions? Yeah.
Sure, how do we pay for this? What's it coming out of?
Well, we would have options within the budget, but one of the things we use school choice dollars for are for the additional things that we don't necessarily put into the town budget. So the 20,000 would definitely fit into our school, so like we do all of our technology from that, buying curriculum, and the strategic plan would definitely fit under the school choice.
School choice dollars, and that's the next fiscal year? Or do we school choice dollars not?
We could pull it out of either. I mean, school choice doesn't have an end, it just rolls over and over, so it can build.
And the second question is, so a lot of meetings in here, it doesn't detail exactly who's doing all the meetings, but presumably this is involving a lot of the district. So are there additional costs in terms of salaries for, you know, our teachers are presumed are involved, obviously everyone in the room is involved. Like, what are the other costs beyond the direct cost of the 20,000?
Okay, so just to, so when they do focus groups, anyone and everyone can go, right? When they do the survey, anyone and everyone can, you know, take it, so they'll use that data. But there is a committee that's formed, and I don't wanna be quoted, but I mean, I don't think it's more than 20. So as a school committee, you know, you would have a member or two represented, we'd have a member or two teacher, we'd have and so when we've done any of this type of forming these committees, you know, people volunteer their time because they want to be on the committee. So whether, you know, the time that this committee decides is during the day, you know, and we, you know, get coverage if it were teachers, if it's, you know, in the evening, you know, they would want to be on it, so we don't run into that here.
So I guess what I'm asking is, are we ending up paying staff additional time to be part of this process?
We have never on any committee we've ever formed have we done that.
That's my question, thank you.
Sorry, it was a long-winded.
No, it's all right, I
answer
didn't
then.
ask
I
it
just-
I didn't ask my question very well to begin.
No worries. Mike?
Nick just got my brain working. This 20,000 is a one-time fee?
Yes.
It goes after
For
first
5
phase.
years.
Yeah. They're gonna, after first phase is I believe, phase 1, you'll pay 5,600, and at the end of phase 2, will be the final.
Yes. Okay, and then my follow-up question is that, I think it's on the last page, no, it's not, but the additional services page?
Yes.
If it's 20,000 for the whole yearly, let's say.
Yeah.
Would you be looking for extra, like, buffer money for any of these additional services? Or would that be another time, you guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, this is, if you look down through here, like, we've already done our portrait of a graduate, partnership planning we've done. This is not related to the strategic plan. These are all the services that TLA offer.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying, like learning walks,
Yes.
coaching, like, so we are not planning on engaging that. Where if you wanted, if you look on the page, 10, and it says in phase 1, additional forms, so let's say we want more than 5 forms.
Yes.
Then we would pay an additional $750. So any additional cost to the strategic planning process is built in on page 10 and 11, well, just 10 because the others is. So, really, that's the only additional cost in there.
I think, and I gotta find where I saw it, but it said somewhere like up to 6 members or 10 members for some of these things. I don't know where I saw it, but to Nick's point about, how many people get involved, like an institute or workshop for 25 people, would that be something that we do with this or not? No.
It's really not,
Okay.
it's not related to this.
All right.
Thank you.
I just want to say I am an enthusiastic supporter. I'm so excited about this. I feel like high-fiving everybody, that it's long overdue. I am very familiar with TLA and worth every penny. And to your point, Nick, a lot of these focus groups with staff happen during professional development time. So it's not like you're, staff are giving up extra time or being asked to, work overtime. So I'm very happy about this. So that's all I want to say.
Awesome.
Okay, make a motion.
I'm sorry? No, shit. If it's okay, it'll come back, because we don't have act on it, so I'd rather not act on it until, but I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yeah, I know. So do I.
I have been asking about this since October.
I know, well, here we go. Yeah, last one, and then we're gonna act on a whole mess of stuff.
I'm very, very enthusiastic like Linda, because it's going to involve the community, it gets buy-in, strategically, this is a PR move also, because it's creating the story of our district for people who may be new or just don't know what's going on. It's, I think, a very, very good move. And I was also really pleased, I forwarded you all the Situate strategic plan, and what I liked in that one was that they specified the MSBA project that they were working on, which works for us, because we can put in Lawrence.
I love the story aspect.
Yeah.
I think the dashboard is our story.
I mean, it's really beautifully put together.
Yeah,
and
people care.
it helps to guide people through, like, who are the people
Bunch
who
of
are
words,
doing
but
this,
what's
and what was the process?
Yeah, agreed. Awesome, thanks Henry, thanks Lori. Okay, let's act on some things. If I mess up, just tell me, because I'm rusty. So first up is acting on the 2026-27 budget development timeline. Do you want to say anything about this? It's the same as we do every year.
Yeah, basically. We did build in a workshop just for school committee members on September 8th. I think that's the only difference from the other years.
That was a request from the last one.
Yeah.
Mike really wants it. Go. Is there a second? Melissa's got the second. Any comments about this? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up is acting on the Morse Pond revised report cards.
So moved.
I'm gonna second that.
Any discussion on that one from
I
the
just want to
presentation last time?
one more time say that I really wish we still had something in there for exceeds expectations. I looked back and there was a process in 2014, I think it was, where they explicitly were adding something for children who were exceeding expectations into our district so that we could support them. And I just wish the report cards reflected that, but that's it.
Well, I think after a year of implementation, that they always reflect on the process, so it could be something that's revisited. I think that the change in standards basis, we have to remember, meeting the standard, it's like a destination, so if you're around, the purpose is getting to that destination.
It's just underwhelming.
No, I know, well, sometimes it can also be.
It's a deterrent in some ways.
Yeah, no, I
You know, it's like you go to the roof, you can't go any further. People are like, good job, you got it.
But on the other hand, the report card could be 100 pages long, that's the problem, so.
Any other comments on report cards? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? That's unanimous as well. Thank you very much. Next up is acting on the 26-27 school handbooks, and we have the updated ones in green, I'm guessing?
Well, yes, so there were suggestions at the last meeting, and so thank you to Melissa and Glenda. We met as a policy subcommittee. So you will see on green, we did take out, it was suggested to take out or otherwise, I can't read it because it's a green, discriminating. We took out this and put the on number 4. So when enforcing the standards of dress is actually a title. So we made that change. Again, in number 5, the same or otherwise, we took out as suggested. And then if you go over to page 3, we again took out, we took out the initiative because we said we should just keep it as a policy, so we changed that section. And under pants, capris, shorts, skirts, and dresses, we took that out. We found out that that was a mistake that was supposed to be taken out. But what we added in, as the policy subcommittee member suggested, if you see in blue, this is brand new. But it's not brand new to the whole policy, because if you look on page 2, number 6, under the high school, it is the 2 sentences that apply to the high school. What we did is we copied them and we put them at the bottom of where the Lawrence, so that it repeats that. So that was done at the policy subcommittee level. And then again on page 5, it's that or otherwise be discriminated against came out. On page 7, the same at the top there, same phrase. And then on page 8, it was suggested to remove cell phone and put device. We agreed with that. If you look up at the very first sentence, it says personal electronic devices such as, so device covers everything. So we added that, and that was, nope, not yet, on page 11. On page 11, we took out while invited. That was asked to come out, and we added at the end during their visit. At the toward the bottom, students may not have visitors during the school day unless otherwise authorized by the administration. And then we did not feel that we really needed that last sentence, we just pulled it out. It didn't really make sense. So, and now I really am done. Those were all the suggested changes, they were all made, plus another edition of the subcommittee made.
Is there a motion to accept the edits to the handbook?
Can I make a motion first to just pull out the Lawrence piece, because the warrant committee made changes, but they haven't been finalized, and so I don't know if you want to speak about that wording.
The process, there was a new person at the Lawrence School that was running that this year. It got started later, it went later. The warrant, the warrant committee, it runs just like town, our town government. They had made several suggestions. When it actually went to their town meeting, they did not survive with the student group. So when the representatives of town meeting and they were presented, they didn't. There were 3 things that one didn't have anything to do with dress code. One was to have more like spirit days, options. So like if a team's winning, they want to come in with their covered bird soccer t-shirt, So like days, specific days, they wanted that. And then the last one, honestly, I can't remember, it was something about the dress code that they wanted, but that isn't the end of it. So out of all that the warrant committee had suggested, then it goes to at the town meeting, and then it gets narrowed down, but then it goes to the staff, and the staff approve or don't approve. It did not meet that. I would not hold up, we need to have a handbook done, we need to start somewhere. They just would not be allowed to start with those extra dress code things next year until they came back, if they survive the approval, the last approval process. And we don't know whether that would happen or not. I just, respectfully would say we need to have a handbook in place, and I wouldn't wanna pull that out, because it'll be the fall before we hear from them.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
thought that was happening, sometime
This week, I don't
very
think they're gonna be able to get the staff together to go over that this week.
So how do we revisit this?
So it would
this
just be an
annually,
amendment, so if the staff accept, it would only be the one change, because they already have, so it would only be one dress code change. So we would come before the policy subcommittee, Mr. Bushy would be asking, can we add this to the, they're gonna say yes or no, it'll come back to the group, the policy subcommittee say, we wanna make this one additional change. Just like we do any policies that we bring back.
Okay.
Yeah, but that would not happen for the fall, just was too late of a process.
So they haven't finished their process.
They have not finished their process yet.
And then if it did pass, then it would be.
They can come back, and just like we do all policies, the handbook is a policy. Okay.
So if they approve something that goes counter to what we have in our policy, will they be able to do it?
They cannot start until they come back, and we would change it here.
So there might be a little delay.
There might be a little delay in the first of the year, but
Did you have something?
No,
You're still okay. Mike?
I have two questions from the pants, capris, short skirts, dresses. There's a big cross out from the skirts and the fingertips in green. Does that mean that's the, I'm sorry, page 3. Page 3, just below the blue, that green line.
Yeah.
So, page 3, green line is crossed out. It says, short skirts, dresses are not to be shorter than the tips of the fingers by your side. So we're deleting that completely?
yes.
Okay, so that would then open it up that any size dress, shorts, or skirts can be worn. I know that was an issue that some people had asked.
Which is why we added in the two sentences at the bottom.
Okay, and then my second question is, if Lawrence is, I don't even know, the warrant committee or warrant club is doing this, and we might have to come back, would it make more sense to vote on everything but this? Because we still have last year's policies are still in the handbook.
That's kind of what I was proposing, just to.
Yeah, but then we would lose all the other ones.
Yeah.
Like we would lose performance, toil and corduroy.
No, what I'm saying, if you just took, I'm sorry, what was that, Kelly?
Like the edits under, I'm just in that same paragraph you're in, I was just looking where it says performance, toil and corduroy, which they have approved, wouldn't get in. We would be not including some of the things that they have.
I
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying, I was under the impression that that's already happened.
No, that's in
Well,
yellow, so that is new.
The yellow's new,
The
so
yellow is new, those have been approved.
they wouldn't get that if we don't vote it.
I'm done, yeah.
Can I just, so I don't wanna hijack everything here, but I support the warrant initiative, because I think it's excellent civic education. But if students are voting or deciding on issues that pertain to a dress code, I don't know how that squares with the policy decisions of the school committee, and if every year they kind of chip away at the dress code, I don't know how that, I don't know how that meshes with having a policy, but that there are so many exceptions, and that every year kids are gonna be voting exceptions. It seems, I like a dress code. If it was up to me, we'd have a dress code K to 12. But I think there's something to be said about a direct, easy to follow dress code, not one with a million exceptions, and it seems like that's the direction we're headed, and I don't know how this squares with
So the
what's
school
here.
committee does have the final say, right? So you don't have to accept any of those. And you really have the authority to pull them out, right? So I hear what you're saying, but there's level of process, right? The kids get to go through, as you say, it's a rigorous process that they learn how, our town government works. And then the staff, administration discuss it and make a decision, and then it comes to school committee.
So they have the final say,
Huh?
the staff and administration.
No, you guys do.
No, I meant in terms of bringing it to us.
Yes, we bringing it forward to you, yes, but,
So
this
it's
is
not
a
big
policy,
business,
you literally have the last say on the policy.
Yeah, it's just if the kids are voting for it, and then yet we don't empower them, it's just a dilemma, I think. If we don't respect their wishes.
I make a motion that we remove the Lawrence School dress code until the fall and then revisit it then and just take it out, which is kind of what I was saying at the beginning, and then have it on an agenda item for the fall to discuss it and whatever changes they've done then.
I'll second that.
And that way we're not negating any of the stuff that's in there now, but we also are making sure that it comes back to us once they finalize the process. So my motion is to remove the Lawrence School dress code until, I don't know, an indefinite date.
The edits. It removes the edits.
I'll second it.
Is it?
To indefinitely postpone.
So it removes all the other things.
It removes
all the edits.
That's what you're saying, so that means that, well, I don't know, we have never had this situation, so I guess does it revert back to the policy from last year? Because we vote this every year. And this is literally, yeah, but we've never had that happen.
But if
If there
my
were
motion
no
is to
changes,
remove
you
the
would be voting
policy,
it
so then
again.
it doesn't revert to anything because we're removing the policy, is my motion.
You want to remove the policy?
There will be no policy and then we bring it back in the fall.
So we would have no dress code standards of any kind
Nobody's
for
gonna be in
Lawrence.
school over the summer.
We have to have handbooks when we start school, kids get them in August.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
But
Margaret,
clarification, if we remove this policy, then doesn't then the handbook revert to staying what it was last year?
that's not what she's proposing. She's proposing we remove all the Lawrence dress code. Not the edits.
And the dress code policy
Right.
should be district-wide.
I mean, the district website holds the policy, so if we do something in fall, it goes up there, it wouldn't be in the print. Do they get a printed handbook?
They sign them.
Okay, so, yes. The motion and the second is to remove the Lawrence dress code.
If I could, Kelly, I apologize, I misunderstood the motion. I was seconded to delay this, assuming that what Margaret said, it would revert to the
it was
existing.
the
Just so I will take off my second for the removal of it, I would add it in if we were just delaying until the fall. Because of the timing where the warrant committee would not meet until after school started, is my assumption.
Okay, is there a second for the removal of the Lawrence dress code? Okay, so that motion fails. Did you want to finish what you were saying?
I'll make the motion to accept, or I'd make a motion to move on the handbook and revert to the existing policy until the warrant committee comes in the fall.
So the warrant.
Could I just clarify really?
Yes.
So the warrant committee is the student group.
Yep.
And they have it did not pass on their town meeting floor. So if we use it like our town meeting, it was an article that was brought to town meeting. It was approved by the select board to be put on the warrant, and it failed on town meeting floor, okay? So now we take our Falmouth town meeting off of it, because once our town meeting votes something down or it doesn't pass, and it just goes away indefinitely. Because this is students that have their town meeting, it didn't pass in town meeting, it still can go to the administration in the school. So the teachers, the educators, the administration at Lawrence can either entertain it or not entertain it, because
the students didn't pass it amongst themselves. So I hope that that's helpful
A little
in some
bit,
sort of
yes.
clarification. I'm
Can I
just,
ask one more clarifying question? Do you know the timeline of how this works?
So it's always in the spring, and so what they
Okay.
try to align it is with the spring town meeting.
Okay.
So literally, like they try to get, they were later this year, and so the warrant committee didn't meet till mid, I think it was the 17th, don't hold me to that, June 17th. So it was like, everything got pushed off later, which is why the staff hasn't had time to review it and make that, decision whether they support it. So all we're saying is the staff needs to get together and support or not support the warrant, the big town meeting they had, support or not in September.
That is helpful, so I'm gonna stick with my motion, but clarify it until the teachers' administration come in with their recommendations. That's-
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, wait, so I do a quick follow-up question on that timeline?
Let's finish with Mike's
Point of
motion.
order, we haven't
Yep.
had a second of, and I
Right.
don't even understand.
I'm
what's
repeating
going on.
it because that's what, so Mike's motion is to withhold the edits on the Lawrence dress code and revert back to the last year's version until the warrant committee can wrap up their job.
it's not gonna.
And administration.
Until the administration
Thank
can
you,
wrap it
yes.
up. Thank you.
Yes, that's it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any last discussion on that?
Can I ask my question?
Yeah.
I don't understand how we got relaxed twill and things corduroy in here for next year if we don't have, like, if their process isn't done, how did these other things get added to this handbook?
Because the corduroy and performance twill was put forward by the administration at Lawrence.
Oh, so it didn't go through that process?
Correct. No, it didn't go through their warrant, their students' warrant.
Got it, thank you.
This is just another layer of their students' warrant that
Got it.
didn't pass at the student level.
And then follow up to that, Mike's motion would then revert this to last year's?
Any
And
last discussion on the motion?
Just to clarify, this could be done, if it's just the administration, could be done over the next, before our next meeting. We wouldn't have to wait till fall, as I
Staff
understand.
with teachers.
I don't
Staff,
think
it's
teachers
the
are going to
teachers.
Oh, no, teachers,
Yeah.
it's the teachers.
Teachers.
Okay,
And administration, but they do it together.
together, okay.
So last year's handbook regulations would be printed in August for September because we wouldn't hear from them
Yes.
until September.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then we also just wouldn't have everything else that policy was tasked with that came from this body as well as the Lawrence administration.
okay.
Can I just add?
Oh, sorry.
Jamie and then Glenda, and then we have to vote on this because this is taking entirely too long. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to speak as a former administrator, it would be creating a nightmare in terms of, because one thing would be communicated out, families would think that's what's in place, and there's so much happening at the beginning of the year, and a lot gets thrown at families in the beginning of the year, and so then to try to re-communicate something, I'm just saying,
And they're gonna buy clothes.
it's very difficult.
Parents are gonna buy things.
I understand the reason behind
Yeah, I understand,
everybody's
yeah.
opinion,
Yep.
but I'm just saying administratively, it's not an easy thing.
Last comment, Glenn.
And I just want to say, I hear what you're saying, Melissa, it's this warrant thing and the ability that, the potential that this may be modified, that is kind of the wrench that we didn't know about at our last policy subcommittee meeting. So that's why it's not as straightforward as
Yeah, I got it. 100%,
we would all have hoped.
of course. Timing.
Okay, voting on Mike's motion to withhold the Lawrence edits and revert back to last year's. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Say no.
No.
The motion fails. So we're coming back to the original motion, acting on the entirety of the 26-27 handbook.
Oh,
So moved.
sorry, go ahead.
So moved.
Mike's got the motion, Melissa's got the second. Any last comments on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
No.
Mike and Katrina, noes. Thank you, the motion carries. All right, next up is acting on the school committee meeting dates.
You will notice the edit that Melissa had mentioned, and she was so kindly filling in for me from Texas, that we will, when you look at October 13, where's the next one? February 9, there are built-in executive sessions, and these dates are selected mostly because they don't conflict with budget, because budget subcommittee also meets at 5:30. So we'll have a built-in schedule for reviewing minutes and if there's anything else that happens to come up.
So moved.
Thanks, Mike, is there a second?
Second.
Any comments on the meeting dates? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is the appointments and other assignments. We didn't have this at the last one, and all of so the current, committees all stay active until we vote new ones, but there's exceptions for the ones that end at the end of the year. So, collaborative and VIPS both end with the school year, so they'll end this week. So we brought this back for acting on. Thanks, Mike.
Second.
Melissa's on a roll too. Any comments on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That passes unanimously as well. Thank you. Field trips, yay.
So the theater students are going to, where are they going?
My favorite place.
New York.
Yeah, so the date change, I just want to tell you, the date changes are, just came in today. They are changing to February 26th, 27th, and 28th. So February 26th, 27th, 28th.
Okay.
And then,
Rather than March, rather than March, is everything.
yes,
The same days.
same day, yeah, I don't, well, because February and March always tend to do that, right?
Yeah.
You know, always fall.
That's the same.
Yes, exactly, that is right. Anyway, the trip, I think falls under, and I didn't look that up, Sharon, can you confirm? Falls under, the March 26th, 27th, 28th is,
February?
it's the
It's
Easter weekend, it's an
Easter.
Easter
It is
weekend.
Easter week.
Yeah, it's, or Easter weekend's early, so it's, they moved it because they didn't want to go over Easter weekend, because it's, early. Anyway, so everything else is, laid out, this is, trip they're looking forward to, as you can say, tell that they want to, get that approval now, so they can start raising money.
Yes.
So
Thanks, Mike. Is there a second? Melissa's got the second again. Any comments on the field trip? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? That passes unanimously as well. Next up, discuss and act on, and we're gonna leave out the word reconsideration, because it's been 2 meetings, so we can't use that word. Mike, did you have a motion you wanna make?
I motion to, I said it last time, I'll just paraphrase. I motion to rescind the evaluation vote of the May 26, 2026 meeting. I said last time, way back.
Yep.
Somebody has to second that. I guess I want to make a motion as well, but somebody has to second it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I make a motion to postpone this again until we have approved and released the minutes that are pertinent to this issue, which were the December 9th, 2025 minutes. So,
I don't see how minutes relate to the evaluation.
well, unless somebody's going to pass judgment on Terry and Chris's evaluation content and what they wrote and whether or not they based it on things they should not have used, our only criteria is Andy's other option, which was that they had misinterpreted whatever it is, CMR 35, or whatever the regulation is. If we delay this until after we have approved and released the minutes, Andy can look at those minutes and determine whether or not the first reason he gave is relevant. I don't know if that makes sense to people.
So my understanding of Andy's written statement to us that there were 2 recommendations he was making. One was to get training so we don't repeat the errors of our ways. And the second is to set aside the 2
evaluations that made the error or that, like, however you better described it, in their evaluation. So I still don't see how minutes are going to.
Well, minutes would inform our legal counsel, who can then inform us, but if you don't want to do that, that's fine, it's just my motion.
I don't think
to wait until he has the relevant information, because none of us have actually seen the minutes from that meeting. And he's basing it on what he's been told rather than seeing the minutes. So he hasn't seen the vote or the content or any of that from that meeting, so his legal opinion is based on something he hasn't seen.
Point of order. We don't have a second for this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make the call that it's not relevant. It's not
I'll
within
second it. I mean, I'll second.
But I've made, as chair, I'm making the decision that minutes are not within the scope of what we said we were talking about. It's not relevant to the superintendent's evaluation.
Delay it.
So we come back to Mike's original.
And if I could, and I don't disagree with you, Katrina, what you're saying, I tend to agree with you. However, this is only about regulation 6.03, where, and I'll use Chris and Terry's name, where they both gave a needs improvement on one, therefore the regulation said that they should have given a needs improvement overall. This has nothing to do with what was discussed in in that meeting. This is just the CMR, so they should have, because they gave one as needs improvement, they should have gave overall as needs improvement, and then with the overall, the CMR is the same with the overall summative, where there was 5 needs improvement, therefore the overall should be needs improvement. So I don't disagree with you, but it's a little bit different.
It's just that our legal counsel gave 2 reasons for rescinding.
But it wouldn't matter because the regulation is.
And that's also not what Mike's motion originally was about. It was about the CMR piece. Okay, so are there, I'm gonna try and grab all my stuff while we're talking. Are there comments or discussion related to the motion? And my hesitation is rescinding without steps forward, so I'll give a little leeway in the content because I can't imagine talking about one rescission without talking about the way forward. Any discussion?
So again, to support what my colleague said about the interpretation of mistakes, it seems our attorney was given the information that the mistake was that because there was a proficient overall rating, that the mistake was on the standard, which was instructional leadership, which you can't say that. No one can say that. It could be that the mistake was the converse.
Yeah.
So there's incorrect information that he's assuming that it was a mistake. And also, he recommended rescission based on saying that the superintendent was instructed, well, I'm not going to divulge why he said it because that was discussed during executive session. However, there's an open question as to whether we should have even had an executive session for that particular topic. And we haven't had minutes to approve, to talk about that executive session, to say whether in fact his information that he was basing his recommendation on is factual. So he was making some recommendations based on information that he could not possibly have had. And both our attorney and the DESE representative said that we must comply with CMR 35.08, 603. They told us that we had to. So I don't know how we get around this. And if what we're saying is we're gonna get around it no matter what, then okay, that's the committee's decision, that we're just not gonna comply with this. I think that that's really it's counterproductive, and it's not in keeping with what one of our responsibilities is, which is to evaluate the superintendent, if we're not even going to comply with these regulations. So that's a long-winded amount of comments to say we are not doing the right thing here.
I just I believe the next step that our legal counsel said was rescind this, then lay aside the 2 erroneous evaluations, and then recompile a composite with only 7 of the evaluations. Is that what you understand?
No, well, I don't.
That's how I read it.
I don't understand that at all. What I understand, and again, this isn't about executive sessions, this isn't about any of that stuff. 9 of us got together and we all did an individual evaluation by ourselves. And we handed that in. The only error that was made was of those 9 evaluations, any of the 9, which there were 5, that has a needs improvement on 1, needs an overall needs improvement. And I don't really, you guys can discuss whatever you want, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's a regulation, so Chris and Terry both gave needs improvement on 1. Therefore, overall, it should be needs improvement. Collectively, 5 of us gave needs improvement. By law, by the regulation, it's a needs improvement. So that's my first thing. The lawyer, if he is saying that we should throw away Chris and Terry's evaluations because mistakes were made, that's dumb. And I'll say it if he comes here, because they did a lot of work for those evaluations, and just throwing them away is ridiculous. And throwing them away leads to the result that we have now, which I don't believe is correct by the CMRs. So this is just about the regulations, about nothing else. And I like Chris and Terry, and they did a great job, and that we shouldn't be throwing away their stuff.
Well, I wouldn't say it's thrown away anyway, because the whole point of an evaluation is for the superintendent, and she already has them, so. I don't think it's fair to say throw them away.
I agree, but a needs improvement means that we need to have a betterment plan for the district. That is also in the regulations of DESI. So if we take out, again, 5 needs improvement, 4 not, if we take out 2 of the needs improvement, then we're in the same place we are now, so we are essentially throwing them away because we're not working towards that betterment plan that is required.
So, Mike, just a point of clarification, I don't believe the regs say that it's an automatic needs improvement.
No, it is.
I don't think so. I think it's they can have a needs improvement, but it's not planned.
No,
It's not triggered.
If I might.
I was reading it last night, I could be wrong.
So, to be rated proficient overall, an administrator must have been, at minimum.
A superintendent or an administrator?
Well, we got clarification that the superintendent is considered an administrator. Must have a minimum rated proficient on the standard 1, instructional leadership as defined in the regulation. So, she was not, and hence, she gets needs improvement.
Right, I understand that. But usually an improvement plan is triggered by unsatisfactory. Well, needs improvement is usually a directed growth plan, but it's usually the shall be, can be. It's not an automatic, like the needs improvement in standard 1 is an automatic overall. So I think we need to make sure that we know what we're saying here.
I agree, and I did a lot of research. I talked to Glenn at Mass, I've talked to numerous people at DESI, including a woman by the name of Butters, I don't know her first name, Paige, I think. And it's on the Mass website, on the DESI website for the evaluation of the superintendent. Every page says that in order to get a proficient, one needs to get a proficient or higher in standard 1. And I double checked with everybody to make sure before I brought it here.
Yeah, I'm questioning the plan part, is one question.
The directed growth, I think, I might have misspoke there on that whole plan thing, but.
But I do believe the language says shall.
Shall on just the plan, or the?
Yes,
Okay.
shall.
I think, I would like to just come back to the topic.
clarify is that if we follow our legal counsel's advice, which we as a committee have said we would like to do, and that we would like that legal counsel to be Andy Waugh, he has given the legal advice that we should rescind this and set aside those 2 evaluations, which would then end us with a proficient. If we do not vote to rescind, we also end with a proficient. So unless you have a plan for not following the legal advice, that's why I was suggesting we should give our legal advice the the meeting minutes that pertain to this, so he is fully informed before he gives us a legal opinion. That's why I was motioning to postpone it until we have released those minutes, so we can see them. Otherwise, our only solution going forward is to follow his legal advice, which will end us with putting Chris and Terry aside. So I just want to make sure that everybody is, like, I'm making this right assumption here, and that I understand this correctly, and that you also.
I understand it the same way that you do, and so.
What was the mistake they made though?
My point was that.
By not matching them.
Hold on.
Sorry.
That I think it's looking like either way, if we follow his advice or we vote down, we get the same result. And I think that, I was thinking about it after the last meeting. There's 2 ways to look at it. There's the evaluation, the individual evaluations, which have this error. And the question that was posed to Andy was, do we change it to be proficient, or would we change it to be needs improvement, or should we not be changing other people's evaluations? To which he said, set them aside, because you should not be changing them. You don't know what their intent was. And then that problem on those individuals gets carried over into the summative. So that's how we ended up here. And that's why his advice is, don't change them, just set them aside, because you can't predict what someone else would have done.
Which again, if I could, I don't know what the mistakes were that Chris or Terry made.
They didn't match. It said needs improvement in one place and proficient in another, and they should have been the same.
So that's
They didn't know, and it was a mistake.
I understand that. So the only mistake that they made is that they did the 4 standards, and those were done. The only mistake that they made was compiling the overall to needs improvement or proficient. So that's not a mistake that their evaluation should be set aside. And also, and I will say in the summative, there was 5 needs improvement and 1 and 4 proficient and exemplary. But when that was presented, that was also done incorrectly and said proficient. So the mistake wasn't just on Chris and Terry's, it was also on the summative. So I don't see how we can throw out 2 evaluations based on a clerical error where, again, and I'm not blaming Chris or Terry, I think that we all should have known these rules beforehand. So as that being said, I don't feel comfortable with throwing away Chris and Terry's evaluations, because they didn't.
The trouble is, we don't know if they would have changed either of those to be in compliance with the law. We don't know which way they would have.
We don't know which way they would have changed it. Okay, we're not going back and forth anymore. Any new people want to say anything? Nick?
I would. I'm getting dragged into this because this is interrupting our regular business, and I would like to see it resolved satisfactorily, one way or the other. My thinking right now is this is a complicated issue. I haven't read the individual evaluations, but my understanding is there were more problems than even just these, such as if you're gonna issue a needs improvement to the superintendent, you need to meet one-on-one with the superintendent to talk about it. And my understanding is that was not the case. But I don't wanna have to decide one way or the other. What I would like to have happen is to rescind this and send it to the evaluation committee. We have a new committee, has a new member on it, who wasn't involved in the process. We have 2 people that have been involved in the process. Let them come back to us with a recommendation for how we get out of this jam. So, I would like to make.
So you're in favor of rescinding it?
I would like to make a motion to amend Mike's motion to rescind this vote and send it to the evaluation committee for them to make a new recommendation for us, bring it back in August.
Okay, I'm gonna second it because it also gives Katrina more time.
So I understand what you're saying, Nick, but I really don't think that's fair to me as in terms of being on the new committee, because it's old business. I would rather see us end this, and so that when we start these new subcommittees, we're starting fresh. So I don't know, I don't want to be out of order, but I do have my own motion that I would like to make, but I don't know if.
We have to deal with this one. We have a motion and a second on.
We have 2 motions in 2 seconds, so I think Janie can make any motion she would like.
She cannot. We have an amendment to your motion, and we need to deal with the amendment.
I second Nick's amendment.
Oh, I already seconded it because of,
Okay, sorry.
because of,
No,
yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
All right, so we have an amendment proposed that would rescind the vote taken on May 26th and send the topic back to evaluation subcommittee to make a recommendation. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion?
Did somebody second it?
I
Yes,
did.
somebody did it, sorry.
Can we knit because there's the other.
Oh, sorry.
I do have, I do not want to make Janie do something she's not comfortable with. So I'd like to withdraw my amendment if you really mean it, that you don't want it.
Or at least like to have the opportunity to make my motion, so you may change your mind. You
So,
may not agree with it, or.
I'm gonna vote against my own, and I suggest that we,
Okay.
quick vote no on this.
You can rescind your own motion.
You can just rescind it, it's
You can
fine.
just rescind it.
All right,
Okay.
it's rescinded.
And I would hope that, you would address.
Is it an amendment to Mike's motion? Because we have to deal with his motion.
Okay,
All
now,
right,
so
Jane's
I
got an
would,
amendment.
my amendment would be in the spirit of compromise and in the spirit to move us forward so that we could start fresh this summer. And given the extraordinary circumstances of this evaluation process with almost everyone who's been on the committee said that there's been issues. And scoring errors, a lot of missteps along this whole process. And I think both sides have legitimate points, and obviously people feel passionate about their ratings and their feedback for Dr. Dill. So I think that it's a really bad look for this committee to knowingly violate the regs, because the attorney said, training, you don't need training because people knowingly made that vote to violate the reg. So in that spirit, and just in supporting the people who voted proficient, they felt there was inconsistency. So I see that both sides. But the reality is the committee is stuck. But in terms for the betterment of this committee and the benefit of this community, we need to put this issue to bed. Now, I feel. So what I am offering, my motion, is to, using the same tool, change it from a summative rating to a formative rating. Okay, to change it from a summative to a formative, keep the needs improvement in place. Okay, so that we can move forward, so the evaluation would be finished for the year. Then, speaking to what you were saying, the new subcommittee then could work together to revamp the evaluation process so that we don't have the errors of this past year, so that we can start in July as a new team. So, and I'm sure, Dr. Durr, you may have feelings about the needs improvement, but I'm trying to be fair and I'm trying to be creative and think out of the box.
Okay, so I have a question. So this would be to rescind and change the evaluation to a formative, but it would not have a needs improvement because that's not what we have in our summative of that. It would be proficient because that's what we voted. Unless we send it back to somebody to redraw it. We don't
How
have.
did it go to proficient?
It is proficient now, so how, are you proposing to just randomly change it?
No, it would be the rescinding of the proficient, but changing it to a formative.
But the formative, you don't evaluate like that.
I know, I'm just saying for these extraordinary circumstances, so that, because you have to remember the evaluation tool is about growth, right? And about getting to a better place. And so the rescission would be to remove the illegal vote, according to DESI regs, the inappropriate vote. It would put in the formative, but keeping the needs improvement overall rating.
Well, it's a proficient overall rating as it currently stands.
I'm saying if we rescind the proficient as part of the motion.
Okay.
I know it's unorthodox, but I think we are in extraordinary circumstances. And quite frankly, I'm really disappointed. Like, I really want to start fresh. I want us to be in good standing together. Because all that's gonna happen is we're gonna go into our retreats and this is just gonna be all on our shoulders and in our hearts, right? So I'm just trying to think of a creative way. So we rescind the proficient based on that it was, counted to DESI regs. It's a formative, which is midterm, mid-cycle. It still needs improvement.
It's not still a needs improvement because it never was. You're asking to change the evaluation overall, the overall rating, correct? You're asking to change the overall rating from proficient, which is what we voted, and make it a formative and change it to a needs improvement.
I'll second it for discussion.
Is that, am I understanding it correctly?
Well, I guess it's hard for me to sit here and say, yes, you voted it a proficient, but I don't think technically it was proficient based on the regs. So that's, just because it was voted that, doesn't make it so.
And the lawyer said that we shouldn't have voted that way.
Melissa?
Just could you educate all of us on what the formative is as opposed to the summative?
So the formative is, so the cycles can be 1 year or 2 years, okay? So it's just like students when we teach them, you just think of a science unit. So they have this big science unit, the teacher's teaching, and then halfway through the unit, the teacher gives an assessment to check in to see, how they're progressing and how they're doing. Well, the same thing is for teachers, administrators, and superintendents. So the formative is to inform the superintendent's work. So it's a check-in, it's a progress report, it's a chance to look at what needs to be worked on, what needs to be changed. It's about growth, it's not about criticism. It's about making things better. And then when you come to the summative, that's when the state's ratings come in.
So, if I may.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to be doing right now anyway. We meet with her halfway through the year and we have discussions. She puts time aside for each one of us and we check in with her. Not as punitive, but just as you said, informative and how are things going and hey, I really like this, hey, I don't really like this. You don't seem to be on track with this goal, but you seem to be really ahead of this goal. So I guess I'm just, I feel like we're doing that right now. Well, we're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah, the only difference is it would take it to 2 years. So my concern would be we would be keeping the same goals for another year.
So then the superintendent doesn't have an opportunity.
Well, excuse me, not necessarily, because she can choose so to do so. I mean, there are actually excellent goals that can be maintained, but it's not uncommon for an educator or principal or superintendent to amend their goals mid-cycle. So it would be extending the summative to the end of next year because the formative would end this year. It would end this process for this year.
And Dr. Dewar did originally want to extend her goals.
So,
some of them.
Margaret, is this related to this formative thing? Okay.
And I certainly appreciate everything you said, because I absolutely agree with you and everything, except we have decided that we're going to follow lawyer's advice. And the lawyer has given us advice, and that's not following his advice. So I would have to vote no. That's my only, I agree with everything you said, but I'm concerned about the level of intensity. You're absolutely right. And I wish we could put this to bed, but I'm not sure that was going to put to bed. And we've said we're going to have Andy make a decision in terms of, DESI and the rules, and this is what he has said to us, and so that's why I voted against it. But I want you to know, Jane, I really appreciate the compromise, and I don't disagree with anything you said. Thank you.
Okay, last thoughts on the amendment, on the formative.
well, I agree with you. We need to put this to bed. I absolutely agree with you. And I'm not going to, get into the history, but just to express Reader's Digest version, this process. Rules were changed about weighting evaluations. We violated our policy about the timeline before the election. We're now violating the DESE policy about the evaluation itself. And so I think what you're hearing, I'm talking to our new members, what you're hearing is a culmination of the frustration of this process. And you have an evaluation to give honest feedback. And maybe people don't like it. I disagreed with some of the other feedback. But just because you don't like the feedback doesn't mean that you kind of game the system such that the feedback has no consequence or has no result. My frustration is that through this process, it was clear, we don't want to hear negative feedback. We don't want to hear feedback for growth, all through this process. So I agree with you, we need to end this. We absolutely do. But I do think that there are legitimate concerns about how this process was played out throughout this process. It wasn't just this, it was this entire process. And if we as a committee don't want to have honest feedback for an evaluation process, then we shouldn't be going through it. I mean, honest to God, am I gonna spend the hours that I did next time? Because no, it's baked in the cake. It's gonna be proficient. What's the point? So that is my frustration. It is not just this culmination. It's the entire process leading to this. So I agree with you. I would like to, I don't know if you've been seconded.
I thought you seconded.
I absolutely agree. I would love to put this to bed tonight because this is going nowhere fast. We have to move beyond it.
Can I say one more thing to this?
Melissa had her hand up first and then.
Is it appropriate to ask what happened to the superintendent subcommittee evaluation group, like how they fell apart? Is it appropriate? Because I feel like this infrastructure was crumbling long before.
I think it's I think it's a relevant conversation. It's not relevant to the formative.
Okay,
So I wanna stay on topic.
But I just wanna highlight.
I know, but you're all proving my point.
Each of you. Mike.
Oh, my last comment, and I'm okay with my colleague Jane's amendment. It's compromise, it's fine. But just so everyone knows, I do have open meeting law violations open against the evaluation committee and the committee as a whole. So if you all decide to go back and throw away Chris and Terry's evaluations and do the proficient route by getting rid of them.
Mike, it's gotta be about the amendment we're on.
I understand, I'm working on it now. There's still open meeting law violations, so you guys can't do that. The AG is gonna look at it eventually, and therefore I will support Jamie's amendment just to start fresh and compromise and get over it.
Nick.
But we should probably hear from Dr. Durr as well.
Would you like to? As I said, I feel like I've been dragged into this. I didn't want anything to do with it. But here we are and we're stuck. I like this compromise. I didn't know there was such a thing as a formative or a summative evaluation. But if we can take a vote that was illegal or at least problematic by voting for a, when we should have voted needs improvement based on the 9 reports. And we can partially fix it by rescinding that vote, which fixes the illegal part of it, and then turning it into a formative needs improvement, which I see as, it's like a progress report, as I understand it. I think that gets us out of jam. It satisfies perhaps some of the superintendent's critics. it lets us move forward, but it's not a final report card, which you could clearly argue that some people didn't realize the implications of grading the way that they did. So, you know, it's a compromise. It's not gonna satisfy the critics, it's not gonna make the proponents totally happy. I still don't know how I vote on this, but I will vote in favor of this amendment.
And just to be clear, it's not with an improvement plan, that's, you have to know that, no improvement plan.
Did you want to say anything? Any last comments?
Dr. Dirk, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I think the last one said. Okay.
Can I just say, I just feel like changing from summative to formative is out of her contract. Like, it's in her contract that we do summative. I just want to highlight that.
Okay. We're gonna have to go around because I'm not gonna be able to, it's gonna be all over the board and I'm not gonna know who voted for what. So, voting on Janie's amendment, which is to rescind and change the overall to needs improvement and make it a formative with no growth plan, is the motion. Roll call. Mike?
Halen, yes.
Cohen, yes.
If you do, damned if you don't. Augusta, yes.
We'll keep no, because it's not in her contract. And I don't think it's fair to put that on anybody.
We gotta keep going, or we can't start talking now.
I said that no for the reasons I gave.
Nick?
Lowell, yes.
Kevin, yes.
Yes.
Welch, no. Motion carries. All right, we're turning the page on that. Evaluation subcommittee has their work cut out for them. Next up is acting on routine business. Is there a motion for
So
the
moved.
minutes from June 9th? Any discussion or edits? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? It passes unanimously. Any committee reports?
No.
It's not quite a committee report, but I do want to come back to our sister school in Cabo Verde and how incredibly excited they must be that their team is in the World Cup for the first time ever, and was a draw at the, one of the favorites to win the whole shebang. It is absolutely huge, and I can't imagine how excited they must be at our sister school. So share our joy with them. Any other committee reports? Oh, sorry, Sue.
Lawrence School Building Committee met for the
Oh, yay.
first time on June 16th. As you know, this committee was appointed by the select board in compliance with MSBA requirements. In attendance were the following: myself and Margaret Souza representing the school committee, Skip Dandini, Mike Duffy, Stacy Jason, Thornton Lewis, Nancy Taylor as community members, Doug Brown for the select board, Tom Bushy, Lori Dorf, Paul Dot, Sandy Kemp, Steve Bellis. Mike Branshaw, town manager. Heather Coldstone was not unable to attend. Sharon Reed was introduced as secretary for the committee. An agenda items included MSBA's role with the Lawrence renovation project, general committee operational information. Tom Bushy was elected chair for a 2-year term, and Nancy Taylor elected vice chair. Meetings will be on the second Monday of each month. The next meeting scheduled for 9/14/26 from 1 to 2:30 at the Lawrence School Library. A summer reading was given to committee members on MSBA submission materials and NASDAQ reports on the feasibility study budget.
Oh, I actually have something, I forgot. Diversity, Equity, Belonging Committee, there are some openings, if anybody wants to join, right, Henry?
Yes,
Yes, there are openings, so, that's it, thank you.
Anything else? Any requests?
Request for agenda items next.
Or just, whatever you need.
if we're doing agenda items for consideration, since we're meeting in August, I'd like to have a discussion about transportation safety. That seems to be of interest.
Roger.
For the August meeting, I'd like to have a discussion about how we put agenda items on the agenda.
Yep.
As a school committee, I think we should have that communicated.
Yeah, hopefully we'll maybe do it during the retreat even.
If I may, Cal?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a request for right now, but I mean, in regards to, we've spoken about, some training for us in the evaluation process. And I would really appreciate it if members would look hard at, how they're evaluating the superintendent when we're supposed to be evaluating her goals, and her evidence that she presented. And I think as individuals, we all have to look at that when we came up with our ratings. This whole fiasco for the past 6 months has not been Dr. Dare's fault. And I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you.
If we're doing the evaluation stuff, can we have someone come in from Bessie and Mass? Because the last 2 years, last year, we weren't allowed to speak about it publicly. And then we found out that that was not true. And then this past year, in the summative, the bias of which comments were included or not. So we need to, I think, as a committee for the evaluation, get that training. And also, we need to start doing the evaluations in public, not in private, because that's where the issues lie.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Enjoy having July off.